Looking utterly distraught, Xia Yin walked out of the Su Corporation and moved like a zombie along the sidewalk. She wasn't paying attention to the traffic lights when crossing the road and was nearly hit by an electric scooter. The rider stopped and cursed at her, telling her to get lost if she wanted to die and not try to extort him. Xia Yin stared blankly at him, her pale face stained with tears. The rider was startled and quickly got back on his scooter to leave. She looked like a female ghost, with bloodshot eyes and a resentful expression that seemed ready to claim a life at any moment. Xia Yin walked unconsciously back to the Xia family home. She lay on her bed like a puppet, dazed and her mind unable to think. Suddenly, the door was pushed open. Xia Yin, have you and Hoche made up yet? The inquiry came from her mother. When she didn't get a response, Mother Xia pulled Xia Yin up from the bed. What's wrong? I'm asking you a question. Why aren't you answering? Noticing Xia Yin's pale face and red, swollen eyes, Mother Xia paused for a moment. Did Hoche do something to you? Every time Xia Yin cried, it was because Hoche had been too clingy, making her feel wronged. Mother Xia assumed this time was no different, and her smile grew brighter. What's there to cry about? When he's in the wrong, you can make more demands of him. There, stop crying. In Mother Xia's eyes, this was a good thing, a chance to get more from Hoche. She gently brought over a tissue to wipe Xia Yin's tears. All right, your eyes are red enough. Let's go find Hoche right now. Xia Yin's fragile and pitiful appearance was enough to make any man's heart ache, especially Hoche, who treated her as his life. Naturally, they could gain more benefits this way. Mother Xia found a fresh and simple dress from the closet for Xia Yin to change into. When Hoche sees you, I guarantee his heart will break for you. Xia Yin sat motionless. Mother Xia grew a little anxious. Hurry up and change. Don't dawdle. We can catch Hoche just as he's getting off work. Xia Yin still didn't move. What are you doing? I told you to change your clothes. Mother Xia lost her patience. You've been giving Hoche the cold shoulder for a while now, and the company's partners are about to leave us. If you two don't make up soon, the Xia Corporation will be finished. Hearing her mother's no longer gentle voice, Xia Yin gradually regained some awareness. She looked up at her mother, her lips moving, but no sound came out. Or perhaps, she didn't have the courage to ask certain questions. Su Zizhou's words still echoed in her ears, churning in her mind. She and Su Zizhou had no future? If not, what was the point of everything she did for him in her past life? If she and Su Zizhou weren't going to get married, what was the point of being so relieved to have cut ties with Hoche in this new life? In both her past and present lives, she had been fighting for true love. But her true love had told her that the relationship he maintained with her was the same as the one she had with Hoche. She coveted the endless benefits Hoche gave her because of his affection. Su Zizhou maintained their ambiguous relationship to get the endless benefits she could bring him. Seeing her expression, Mother Xia became even more displeased. What are you looking at me for? Hurry up and change. Hoche will be getting off work and heading home soon. What? The simple word was incredibly difficult for Xia Yin to ask. What do you mean, why? Xia Yin, hurry and change your clothes. We need to catch Hoche at his company before he leaves. Don't you know how to maximize your benefits? Xia Yin suddenly flared up, snatching the dress and throwing it on the floor. I'm not changing. Hoche and I are completely over. Xia Yin, don't be crazy. Mother Xia scolded. Hoche likes you so much. He couldn't even say a harsh word to you when you ran away from your own engagement party. How could he really break up with you? Mother Xia paused, then added, besides, you saved his life. That's a debt he can never repay. As long as Hoche is alive, this relationship can't be broken. Hearing her mother speak of holding Hoche in her debt for a lifetime, Xia Yin's eyes filled with shock. Mother Xia picked up the dress and handed it to her again, urging, hurry and change. Xia Yin steeled herself and threw the dress to the floor again. Hoche is already married. What would I be if I go see him now? A mistress. Hearing this, Mother Xia tried to soothe her. Silly girl, what do you know? Hoche has no feelings for that illegitimate daughter. All men have their flaws and cheap tendencies. He's only doing this to make you jealous, to make you care. The more he acts like he doesn't care about you, the more he wants your attention. Mom has been through this. I know the power of a white moonlight better than you do. As long as you go back to him, Hoche's heart will only ever belong to you. Qian. Enough! Xia Yin shouted, cutting her mother off. As her mother stared in stunned disbelief, Xia Yin said again, I don't like Hoche. The person I like is Su Zizhou. It's always been Su Zizhou. In my past life, and in this one, I've only ever liked him. I've been fighting to be with him. So why do you all keep pushing me to see Hoche? What? The answer was a slap from her mother. Xia Yunqian's head snapped to the side, her ears ringing and her mind a chaotic mess. But her mother's sharp voice still pierced through. You wretched thing. I give you an inch and you dare to shout at me? Still like Suzhou? How much is your like worth? What contribution can Suzhou make to our Xia family's development? Xia Yinqian, let me tell you, Suzhou will not marry you, and we will not allow you to marry him. You think Suzhou doesn't know? He's just providing you with emotional value. He doesn't even dare to touch you. Do you think it's because he cherishes and respects you? He's afraid Hoche will come after him. Xia Yinqian, you will change your clothes right now and come with me to see Hoche. Because of your fight with him, the company is about to go under. If something happens to the company because of you, you'll see what I'll do to you. Hurry up and change. The truth is the sharpest of knives, capable of severing every nerve in one's body. Wounded by the truth, a rebellious streak grew in Xia Yinqian. She said resolutely, I'm not going. It's not up to you, Mother Xia said irritably. Seeing Xia Yunqian's determination, she gritted her teeth and said coldly, think carefully. If you can't please Hoche, then you'll marry some other CEO. And I can't guarantee how old he'll be, how many times he's been married, or what kind of special fetishes he might have. Xia Yinqian couldn't believe these words were coming from her own mother. She asked, in your eyes, what am I? A tool for your brother to run his company, Mother Xia said ruthlessly. Xia Yinqian's eyes widened in shock. I'm a person, not a tool. Mother Xia was dismissive. The only reason we didn't throw you away when you were born was so you could be a help to your brother. Why else do you think we raised you all these years? Xia Yinqian. After leaving the tea house, Hoche dismissed his assistant and drove to Wanhai Tower himself. He didn't go in, but found a seat at a coffee shop next to Wanhai and shared his location with Meng Shichu. He sent a message, my side is handled. Waiting for you. About 2 hours later, Hoche's phone rang. It was his assistant, Yimo. Young master, Miss Xia's mother is here. She says Miss Xia is sick, very seriously. Before Yimo could finish, Hoche cut him off. Get rid of them. Tell them not to bother me again. He hung up immediately. A moment later, Hoche received a WeChat message from Meng Shichu. I'm coming down. Hoche stood up, went to the counter to pick up the pastries he had asked them to pack earlier, and walked briskly outside. He waited at the entrance of Wanhai Tower for 2 minutes before seeing Meng Shichu emerge with her assistants, Jiangwen and Jiangwu. Meng Shichu walked over. What are you doing here? Nothing much at the office, so I came to pick you up, Hoche said, handing her the box of pastries. They're from that coffee shop. Pretty good. I had them packed separately. The implication was that they weren't leftovers. Meng Shichu took them, a faint smile on her face. Why didn't you just come inside? Pei Jinhua wouldn't have stopped him. If I went up, I would have affected your progress. Waiting outside is fine. As he spoke, Hoche had already opened the passenger door. Meng Shichu said a few words to Jiangwen and Jiangwu, then got into Hoche's car. As the car started, Meng Shichu looked at the pastries in her hand. Hoche suddenly spoke. You can eat in the car. I don't mind. Meng Shichu smiled. Have you studied psychology? How else could he know what others were thinking with just one look? No. Hoche shook his head. After a couple of seconds, he explained, and don't get the wrong idea. Xia Yinqian has never sat in my passenger seat. This wasn't her training. Of course, it wasn't that he hadn't allowed it, but that Xia Yinqian hadn't wanted to. You don't have to explain. I don't ask about the past. Hoche acknowledged, then added, sorry about today. If it happens again, just handle it your way. Don't worry about me. Got it. Meng Shichu ate some of the pastries. They were indeed good, just a little dry. So, she said to Hoche, pull over. I'm going to buy a bottle of water. The car stopped. Just as Meng Shichu was about to unbuckle her seatbelt, she heard Hoche say, I'll go. He quickly got out of the car and walked toward a shop on the street. Watching his brisk figure, the smile on Meng Shichu's face deepened. Her phone vibrated. A WeChat video call from someone labeled Godfather Chun. Meng Shichu answered, adjusting the front-facing camera. Godfather, Meng Shichu greeted. Where's the other one? He's fishing. The camera view shifted to show a man sitting by the shore, holding a fishing rod. The man turned and waved at Meng Shichu. Xiao, happy wedding. We'll give you your gift when we get back. Okay. The view switched back to the first man's face. He asked Meng Shichu, didn't you say you weren't getting married? Why the sudden change? That Hoche doesn't have a very good reputation in Kyoto. Don't let him use you to get his white moonlight's attention. Meng Shichu said, Hoche is a pretty good person. So far, this marriage doesn't seem like a loss. Don't let yourself be taken advantage of. If he bullies you and you can't handle it, Just call your godfather. I have plenty of ways to make him regret it. Meng Shichu said, It's not that serious. He hasn't bullied me. The man nodded. All right, I figured you'd be off work. Just wanted to check on my little girl. Suddenly, he asked, Are you in a car? Why isn't it moving? Meng Shichu replied, I was a little thirsty. Hoche went to buy me some water. The man on the other end was stunned for a moment. All right then, we'll come see you in Kyoto after our trip is over. The chat ended, but Hoche still hadn't returned. Meng Shichu wondered if he had gone abroad to buy water. Just as she was about to get out of the car to see what was happening, she finally saw Hoche's figure approaching. He was holding a cup of instant milk tea. Hoche came closer and passed the milk tea to Meng Shichu through the window. She took it. The milk tea was warm. She took a sip, and the temperature was no longer scalding. Hoche walked around the front of the car, got in, and started the engine, explaining, It's not good for you to drink cold water right now. It took some time to make the milk tea and cool it down to the right temperature. Meng Shichu took another sip of the milk tea. The temperature was perfect, with a sweet, weedy fragrance. Her mouth and stomach felt sweet, and so did her heart. Getting along with this man was very easy. Suddenly, Meng Shichu realized this wasn't the way home. Do we have another dinner party today? She thought Hoche was taking her to meet more of his friends. No, we're going to the jewelry store. Meng Shichu turned to look at him. Hoche explained, We still haven't bought the customary gold jewelry for the wedding, and your finger is still bare. Meng Shichu held out her hand. I'd forgotten if you hadn't mentioned it. She used to wear a thumb ring given to her by Godfather Chun, which was now on Hoche's ring finger. From Hoche's attitude, he had no intention of taking it off. Hoche said, I'm already wearing the wedding ring you gave me. You should also wear the one I've prepared for you, right? Meng Shichu nodded. Yes, I'll wear it. Before long, they arrived at a jewelry store. Seeing the manager personally greet them, Meng Shichu knew that Hoche had arranged everything in advance. In the VIP room, the manager displayed more than a dozen rings on the table. Mr. Hua, these are all the limited edition models you requested. Meng Shichu glanced over. They were all women's rings, with no men's styles. Hoche really wasn't planning on taking off that thumb ring. What do you think? Is there one you like at first sight? Hoche asked for Meng Shichu's opinion. You can help me pick a simpler one. Meng Shichu delegated the task to Hoche. Hoche gladly accepted. Since Meng Shichu liked simple styles that were convenient for work, he immediately eliminated two very grand-looking diamond rings. He picked up one with an engraved dark pattern. Before he could speak, Meng Shichu held out her left hand. The ring slid onto her ring finger. It was a perfect fit. What do you think? Hoche asked, deliberately holding out his own left hand. The woman's thumb ring on his hand and the ring on Meng Shichu's finger were surprisingly well matched. It's beautiful, Meng Shichu said. I like it. This one then. Okay. Next, Hoche picked out a plain gold band and slipped it onto Meng Shichu's left index finger. It was the simplest, narrowest band, perfect for decorating her finger. Hoche was very satisfied. He said to Meng Shichu, Wear this one. Don't take it off. Is there a special meaning? Hoche said, Wealth flows in from the left and out from the right. If you wear on your left hand, you'll have endless wealth coming from all directions your entire life, and you'll be incredibly rich. Meng Shichu paused for a moment. Then her smile bloomed as brightly as a rose in full blossom. Coming out of the jewelry store, the smile on Hoche's face was more radiant than the setting sun. Meng Shichu thought of all the items Hoche had them pack up. You bought too much, she said. They weren't very practical, all solid gold, costing nearly 10 million, calculated by weight. I said I'd give you 5 times the amount. I can't go back on my word. Hoche held Meng Shichu's hand. If you don't use it, just store it. This stuff can be turned into cash. The money was well spent. It made him feel great. Then I'll have to think about what to get you. Meng Shichu felt that reciprocity was necessary, even if this person was her husband. Haven't you already given me something? Hoche raised his wrist. This watch isn't cheap. All my friends are jealous of me. I also just realized the HC on the dial is my initials. You're so thoughtful. Because it was a marriage without an emotional foundation, he hadn't thought the 2 letters were his initials when he first saw them. It was only when Hua Chung saw it and teased him that he realized it was the abbreviation of his name. At that moment, he felt Meng Shichu was incredibly thoughtful, which made him feel even more how positive this relationship was and how much he owed the wife he had hastily proposed to. Meng Shichu discussed going to the Hua family home on the weekend with Hoche. He had no objections and had already informed his family in advance. Meng Shichu's idea was for her and Hoche, the younger generation, to visit first and then have the parent from both sides meet. This way, they, the juniors, could better mediate between the 2 sides. Hoche had no objections, thinking Meng Shichu was very considerate. However, Meng Shichu also mentioned that her side was a bit special and might require 2 separate meetings. The Pei family and her mother would have to be met separately. Hoche already knew about Meng Shichu's family situation and said he would explain it to his family so they wouldn't ask any inappropriate questions. After a good night's sleep last night, Hoche went to bed early tonight, leaning against the headboard to read for a while. When Meng Shichu finished her work and came up, they held each other and slept. It was a night of sweet dreams, and another night without insomnia for Hoche. He woke up feeling refreshed. After breakfast, the two left together, heading in different directions. Hoche's car was blocked outside his company by Xia Yin's mother. This woman was relentless. Mother Xia came forward, banging on the car door, and said to Hoche inside, "Mr. What? Yuchin is sick, very seriously. She's in the hospital right now. Can you go see her? I'm not lying to you. She's really delirious and can't even recognize people. She keeps calling your name. I'm begging you, please go see her. Mr. What?" Hoche said to his driver, "Yimo, call the police." A nearby police officer on duty arrived quickly and began to lecture and remove Mother Xia. Mother Xia struggled, telling the officer, "Mr. Hua is my daughter's boyfriend. My daughter is his white moonlight. You can't touch me, let go of me." At Hoche's signal, Yimo got out of the car to speak with the officer. Mother Xia thought Yimo was coming to plead her case. "Assistant Yi, tell him who I am. Isn't my daughter your Mr. Hua's white moonlight?" Then she heard Yimo say to the officer, "Our Mr. Hua is already married and has cut all ties with this lady's daughter. Yesterday, her daughter harassed our Mr. Hua's wife. This afternoon, this lady came to the company to cause a scene. We asked her to leave, and today she's back to block our car. This has had a very negative impact on our Mr. Hua's life." "Yimo, you're talking nonsense. What do you mean harassment? It was your Mr. Hua who was chasing my daughter. Everyone knows that." Mother Xia was shocked by Yimo's words and retorted loudly. Yimo's expression remained unchanged, and he asked the police to handle the matter. Mother Xia's face turned ugly. She struggled to rush forward. "No, it's not like that. Hoche dreams of marrying our Qianqian." After communicating with the police, Yimo couldn't help but say to Mother Xia before getting back in the car, "Our Mr. Hua did indeed want to marry Miss Xia before, but Miss Xia ran away from the wedding and was unwilling. Our Mr. Hua has already announced a clean break with Miss Xia, which was all over the news and known throughout the city. Our Mr. Hua's wife is an outstanding and very good person. Please stop harassing us in the future." With that, he left the wailing Mother Xia, got back in the car, and drove into the company's parking garage. Back in his office, Hoche thought for a moment and sent a message to Meng Shichu. The Xia family was waiting at the company entrance this morning. "I called the police." Meng Shichu had also just arrived at her company. She couldn't help but chuckle after reading the message. She replied, "You can handle it. You don't have to tell me." "Hoche, I'm just worried that these things will get twisted by the time they reach your ears." Meng Shichu, "Don't worry, I don't believe in hearsay." "Hoche, you really are very good." Meng Shichu, "Thanks for the compliment. Meeting now." Hoche sent one more message, "I'll come find you for lunch." To cultivate a relationship, one had to be more attentive. In just a few short days, he no longer had insomnia when sleeping with Meng Shichu, which showed just how comfortable it was to be with her. It was effortless and not tiring at all. When he was with her, he would forget many unhappy things. At Linshan Design, Meng Shichu had a nearly 2-hour meeting. It was only when she returned to her office that she saw Hoche's message. By then, Hoche had already had a cup of milk tea delivered. Today's milk tea seemed to be much sweeter than the past few days. Meng Shichu took a photo and sent it. Received. Very sweet. Half an hour later, Hoche replied, "I added 70% sugar today." Meng Shichu sent a smiling emoji and asked, "Are you planning to fatten me up with sugar?" "Hoche, I'll work out with you on the weekend to lose it." Meng Shichu, "Okay." "Hoche, what do you want for lunch?" Meng Shichu, "You decide." "Ooh, okay, okay." At 11:30, just as Hoche was about to leave, Huo-chang arrived. "Brother, what brings you here?" Hoche was very surprised. Huo-chang walked around Hoche's office. "Did I come a bad time?" "Yeah, I was about to head out." Hoche nodded, not mincing words at all. Huo-chang's mouth twitched. "I heard the Xia family came looking for you." It was because he'd heard about this that he had come over after his meeting. He knew his younger brother's temperament all too well. Hoche's obsession with Xia Yin was almost demonic. He was afraid that if the Xia family showed any weakness or if Xia Yin said a few soft words, Hoche would give in and forgive her. Before, it didn't matter so much since he was single. But things were different now. Xia Yin had schemed against Meng Shichu, and the He family was removed from the four great families. The people backing Meng Shichu were not to be trifled with. A kind-hearted person couldn't have raised someone with Meng Shichu's sharp personality and decisive style. Hoche didn't hide anything, nodding in admission. Yeah, yesterday they went to Meng Shichu's side, and I went to handle it. In the afternoon, they came to my place to make a scene and were sent away. They came again this morning. How did you handle it this morning? Huacheng asked. Hoche weighed the jacket in his hand and said, the police handled it. This result surprised Huacheng. His gaze toward Huache shifted from shock to appreciation. He patted Huache's shoulder. Since it's like this, I can rest assured. I was just afraid you'd start acting crazy again. I'm married now. I was afraid you'd forgotten you were married. Huacheng finally breathed a sigh of relief. Thank goodness. Hoche smiled. Don't worry, brother. I won't be a second Xing. Good. Huacheng nodded and asked Huache, want to have lunch together? Huache shook his head. I'm having lunch with Meng Shichu. Meng Shichu asked you? I asked her. Huacheng was surprised again. So proactive? Cultivating a relationship. You have to be proactive and get to know each other better. Huacheng was immensely gratified. You brat, you've finally woken up. The two left the office. Before Huache got in his car, Huacheng pulled him aside. Cultivating a relationship isn't just about words. You need to follow through with actions. Start giving gifts, be more thoughtful. I know, Hoche had been in a one-sided love for so many years. Of course he knew how to please a girl. When he went to pick up Meng Shichu, he bought a fresh bouquet of flowers. He knew where her office was, took the elevator straight up, and knocked on her door. Come in. Meng Shichu hadn't expected the person coming in to be Hoche. He was holding a bouquet of flowers, so openly and flamboyantly. His posture seemed to say that she was a wife he was extremely proud of. On Saturday morning, Meng Shichu woke up early as if it were a workday. Why so early? Hoche preferred to laze in bed on Saturdays and Sundays, and he tried to pull Meng Shichu back, not let her get up. Before Meng Shichu could speak, Hoche asked, do you have work to do today too? No work. Going for a run. Hoche squinted. Aren't you still on your period? Can you run? It's almost over. A light workout is fine, nothing strenuous. Oh. Hoche released his grip, letting her get up. By the time Meng Shichu came out after washing up, she found that Hoche was also dressed and ready. Before he went to wash up, he said to her, wait a minute, I'll go with you. Okay. They left together and started jogging. After leaving Haidang Villa, they followed the sidewalk, soon descended to the riverbank, and began to run at a slow pace. There were many people exercising in the morning, young and old, men and women. Some were practicing boxing or Tai Chi. Others were taking a slow walk in the fresh morning air. It was very lively. Meng Shichu wore headphones, listening to music from her phone. Seeing that Hoche was keeping pace with her, she asked him, want to listen? I was just thinking, would you agree if I asked for one of your earbuds? Sorry, I didn't think of it. Meng Shichu handed him the other earbud. With that, their steps became even more synchronized, always on the same frequency. After finishing a lap, they were covered in sweat. They stopped near the villa and walked back slowly. Once their breathing had calmed, they started chatting. Hoche asked Meng Shichu, do you usually work out? Yes, I have an annual membership at a boxing gym. I go every weekend, and during the week it depends on the situation. You box. Hoche almost thought he had misheard. Was that a fitness activity for a young woman? Meng Shichu said, yes. It strengthens the body and allows for self-defense. It's great. Hoche gave a dry laugh. I'm no match for you there. Meng Shichu, how so? Hoche, I've never boxed. My fitness routine is just basic exercise to maintain my figure. When he said the words, maintain my figure, Hoche felt a little embarrassed, and his sweaty earlobes turned a translucent red. After breakfast, Meng Shichu started to change her clothes. Hoche asked, where are you going? I need to go back to my place. I bought some things, and I can't go to the Hoche family empty-handed. Today, they were going to the Hoche family home for lunch. Hoche said, I've already prepared everything. I bought these things a while ago. Let's take them along. As you wish. Hoche didn't refuse. He knew that his parents were still somewhat dissatisfied with Meng Shichu, mainly because of her background. But now that it was a done deal, it couldn't be changed. Hoche only knew that Meng Shichu rarely stayed at the Pei family home after coming to Kyoto, but he hadn't expected her to live in such a luxurious place. The Shanshan Plum Garden Villa complex was quite famous in Kyoto. Most of the property owners here were powerful and influential figures. Xia Yin, a descendant of a prominent Red Gate family, also lived here. It could be said that his Haidang villa was more than a notch below Meng Shichu's house. The core of the powerful and the wealthy were different. As soon as the villa gate opened, a black object flew towards them. Before Hoche could react, the black object landed on Meng Shichu's shoulder. It was a crow as black as a piece of coal. The crow hopped and squawked on Meng Shichu's shoulder, rubbing its head against her cheek. The two interacted, and Meng Shichu called it Thor. Hoche was dumbfounded. He hadn't expected a woman of Meng Shichu's age to keep a bird, let alone a crow. He also hadn't expected the crow to have such a domineering name. After being affectionate with Meng Shichu, Thor noticed Hoche's presence. It faced Hoche, spread its wings with its feathers slightly fluffed, and its calls became sharp. It looked as if it was facing an intruder. Thor, Meng Shichu called out, stroking its back. The crow seemed to accept this comfort, relaxed, and flew away. You actually keep a crow? Hoche finally found his voice. Meng Shichu said, I like to keep small animals. A lot of people think crows are unlucky, a fallacy from cultural invasion. Meng Shichu led Hoche inside, explaining, crows are very smart. They just know in advance that a disaster is coming and warn people. They don't bring the disaster themselves. I've heard that before. Hoche nodded, but some things were too deeply ingrained to be easily changed. Meng Shichu had no intention of changing anything. She had just happened to acquire a pair of crows and decided to raise them. Unfortunately, the female bird died the year before last, leaving only the male. She had considered finding another female for him, but Thor was unwilling. Crows are monogamous birds and have only one partner in their lifetime. Hoche had never had a pet, not counting the koi in the pond in the backyard of his villa and the old family home, so he didn't know about the habits of these birds. Hearing Meng Shichu talk about it now, he was filled with respect. Moving from the front yard to the living room, Hoche saw a huge dog, 3 to 5 cats of different colors, and even a box of ants and some unknown reptiles near the entrance. Meng Shichu kept a lot of animals, and they were quite unique. He truly hadn't known this before. It was also the first time he had seen a girl keep such a combination of pets, especially when she was usually so busy. He didn't know that, apart from business trips, whenever Meng Shichu was in Kyoto, she would visit and feed these little things every day. No matter how busy she was, she could always find the time. Her assistants, Jiang Wen and Jiang Wu, also usually lived here. The butler, Uncle Chio, greeted them warmly. Miss, young master-in-law. Meng Shichu introduced him to Hoche. This is our butler, Uncle Chio. You've met Jiang Wen and Jiang Wu. They usually live here. Hoche nodded. Hello, Uncle Chio. Uncle Chio then turned to Meng Shichu. Miss, 2 falcons have flown here. Assistant Jiang said they were the ones you raised in Yuchin, so I built a large nest for them. I'll go take a look. Meng Shichu headed to the backyard. Hoche was petrified again. He looked at Jiang Wen and Jiang Wu. Falcons. The two nodded. Jiang Wen explained. It was a female falcon that the miss rescued before. Later, the female falcon brought her husband to thank her, and they laid eggs on the rooftop of the miss's house. The miss built a nest for them, and now these 2 falcons come to sponge off her for food and drink every summer. Over time, it was as if they had become Meng Shichu's pets. Since these creatures were protected animals, Meng Shichu had reported it, but after being taken away, they would just run back, as if they were determined to mooch off her. In the end, the forestry department, the fishery department, and even the zoo couldn't be bothered to deal with it. They simply couldn't control them. After hearing this, Hoche's mind went blank. He still hadn't fully grasped what Meng Shichu meant by keeping some small animals. Was she the matriarch of a beast-taming sect? Even animals were scrambling to be raised by her. Hoche followed her to the backyard and indeed saw 2 falcons. The fierce birds of prey from nature documentaries were now both spreading their wings, letting Meng Shichu scratch their armpits. If that scene were broadcast, people would probably think it was a fake, computer-generated video. Hoche knew that falcons were birds of prey and didn't get too close, lest he be attacked. Meng Shichu was also surprised. How did these 2 find her after she moved to Kyoto? Butler Chio explained from behind. A while ago, Thor went out for a few days and didn't come back. When he returned, they came with him. Undoubtedly, the 2 had flown to Meng Shichu's previous residence in Yuchin, and Thor had led them here. After playing with the animals for a while, Meng Shichu took Hoche to move the gifts she had bought. Hoche saw the small mountain of items. Why did you buy so much? Not only was the quantity large, but the prices were also not cheap. Looking closely, Hoche asked, did you look up my family's preferences? I asked Xia Yin to help me find out. Meng Shichu didn't hide it. Actually, it would have been more direct to ask Hoche, But at the time she wasn't in Kyoto and hadn't been in contact with him yet, so she had asked Xia Yin for help. Since it was a gift, it was more sincere to give something the person truly liked. Hoche held Meng Shichu's hand. I'm sorry, I haven't been as thoughtful as you. I'll be sure to correct that in the future. Because there were so many things they didn't fit in one car, so Meng Shichu had Jiangwen, and Jiang will make a trip as well. Saturdays were normally the day for the Hua family's weekly dinner. Today, with Meng Shichu visiting for the first time, the Hua family mansion was exceptionally lively. It had been specially decorated, exuding a festive atmosphere everywhere. The car entered the gates, drove around the courtyard, and stopped outside the garage. The butler immediately came forward to open the door, assuming Meng Shichu was in the passenger seat. Instead, it was Hoche who got out. Looking up, he saw Meng Shichu getting out of the driver's seat. As expected of the young master, letting the young mistress drive while he rode as a passenger. Brilliant! Hua Cheng and Mother Hua came forward to greet them warmly. Meng Shichu generously greeted them. Mom, big brother, hello. I'm sorry for taking so long to visit. I've been a bit busy. She had left on a business trip the day after the wedding, been gone for over half a month, and returned on a work day with a backlog of work, which delayed the visit by another week. It's all right, it's all right. Xiao Che told us you're busy with work. Mother Hua took Meng Shichu's hand. This was her first time seeing her younger daughter-in-law. She seemed even more beautiful than in the photos, with a more outstanding presence. Hoche had already opened the trunk, and the butler had the maids come over to carry the things. From a car behind, Jiang Wen and Jiang Wu took out more items. When Hua Cheng saw this, he couldn't help but say, "Why did you buy so much?" Shichu came well prepared. Hoche looked at Meng Shichu, who was chatting with his mother, and added she even had someone inquire about the preferences of everyone in the Hua family. Hua Cheng also looked over. She was a very generous and poised young woman, giving off an air of calm and stability at first glance, different from those young ladies who were raised in seclusion to study the four arts. It wasn't that other young ladies were not good, but Meng Shichu had a particularly special first impression. Hoche moved closer to Hua Cheng and whispered, "Big brother, she's great." Hua Cheng glanced at Hoche. "Since you know that, then live a good life together. Don't cause any more trouble. The family really can't take it anymore." "I know." The group walked grandly towards the main hall. Hoche held Meng Shichu's hand and whispered to her, "Don't be nervous. My family won't make things difficult for you, and I won't let them." Meng Shichu replied, though she didn't feel nervous. She had met many different kinds of people, both good and bad, and had managed to handle them all. Xia Yin had also told her that the Hua family members were generally nice, but they might have some reservations about her background because they didn't know her well. Meng Shichu was mentally prepared. If the Hua family didn't like her, she would just have less contact with them in the future. The marriage with Hoche was already a fact and couldn't be easily dissolved for a while. The Hua family wouldn't ask her to divorce Hoche now for the sake of their reputation. The hall was filled with people. The Hua family was large. Hoche's father had 2 brothers. Besides his own older brother, Hua Cheng, Hoche also had 2 male cousins and 1 female cousin, all of whom were present, including the actor cousin who was usually busy on film sets. Hoche introduced them one by one to Meng Shichu, comforting her. "It's okay if you can't remember everyone. There will be plenty of time in the future. You'll remember them after a few more meetings." Meng Shichu nodded, having already memorized everyone. Most of the Hua family members were warm, except for the second uncle and second aunt. The second uncle didn't talk much, but his eyes held a slight disdain. The second aunt was more direct. Having come from a prestigious family herself, she felt that the doted-on young master of the Hua family marrying an illegitimate daughter was not only unpresentable, but also a disgrace to the family's name. However, with Hoche's cousins and his protection of Meng Shichu, the situation didn't get out of control. Lunch was exceptionally lavish. Hoche continuously took care of Meng Shichu, which everyone noticed. Right at that moment, the second aunt suddenly spoke up. "Xiao Che is so good at taking care of people. He must have learned it all from being with that little Xia girl, right?" "Mom." Second aunt. 2 titles for voices rang out at the same time. The second aunt's own son and daughter, as well as Hoche and Hua Cheng, all spoke up. Hoche slammed his chopsticks on the table. Over on the other side, Father Hua also spoke unhappily. "Second brother, control your wife. If you don't want to eat properly, we'll cancel the Saturday family dinners from now on. Everyone can just eat at their own homes." Mother Hua chimed in. "Why bring up the past? Are you deliberately trying to make Xiao Che and Shichu unhappy?" The atmosphere at the dining table became awkward. Seeing everyone targeting her, the second aunt became unhappy as well. "I'm just speaking the truth. The entire Hua family is descended from prestigious clans. No matter how bad Xia Yin is, at least her background is legitimate. What is this now? A heavy stain is about to be painted on the Hua family's history. Hoche, it's not that second aunt is criticizing you, but after breaking up with Xia Yin, even if you wanted to get married, there are countless proper young ladies from prestigious families to choose from. How could you be so foolish as to choose someone like this? Mom, stop talking. The second aunt pushed away her daughter who was trying to stop her. None of you stop me, I'm going to say it. Hoche stood up abruptly. Suddenly, Meng Shichu's voice sounded beside him. It's all right, let second aunt speak. Her voice was light and faint. She gently put down her chopsticks, leaned back in her chair, and stared at the second aunt with a calm expression and placid gaze. Her aura exploded, making the air tense. She wasn't angry, not agitated, as if she wasn't the one being pointed at and criticized. Hoche's face was very ugly. He held Meng Shichu's hand. This is my fault. Let's go. I can't be bothered with this family dinner. He had always been the rebellious one anyway. It's no matter. Meng Shichu smiled, a calmness that made Hoche's heart tighten. Then I'll be direct. The second aunt, as if afraid Meng Shichu would change her mind, quickly spoke. There isn't a single prominent family that doesn't care about its reputation. This circle looks down on illegitimate children the most. It's a lifelong brand that can't be removed, no matter how outstanding you are. As one of the 4 great families of Kyoto, the Hua family is watched by countless eyes. So many people are waiting to see us make a fool of ourselves. With you marrying Xiao Che, whenever people mention the Hua family, the first thing they'll think of is the Hua family's illegitimate daughter-in-law. Meng Shichu, tell me yourself, am I wrong? Haven't you ever thought that marrying Hoche would cause the Hua family to be ridiculed? Haven't you ever thought that you and Hoche are not a match? Let me tell you, you and Hoche are not a match. You are not worthy of Hoche. You are not only a stain on the Pei family now, but also a stain on my Hua family. If I were you, I wouldn't have the face to step into the Hua family's home. I wouldn't have even returned to the Pei family in the first place to be laughed at, harming others and myself. The second aunt grew more and more agitated as she spoke, her voice getting louder. Her daughter kept pulling at her sleeve, but couldn't stop her. At the table, aside from the second uncle who was on the same side as the second aunt, sitting upright with a cold expression, everyone else was covering their faces with their hands, wishing they could find a hole to crawl into. In contrast, the targeted Meng Shichu remained as calm as she had been from the beginning, completely unscathed by those words. After saying all that, the second aunt even asked Meng Shichu, tell me yourself, was I wrong? As for whether you were wrong, I will answer, Mrs. A second later, Meng Shichu's voice hadn't changed much from before, and the corners of her eyes even seemed to carry a hint of a smile. But her form of address for the second aunt had changed to Mrs. For the second. When she spoke again, Meng Shichu's voice carried a hint of aggression. I've heard that 3 generations ago, the Zheng family's original surname was Feng. They took in a son-in-law with the surname Zheng. Less than 10 years after the marriage, the son-in-law's wife died. Then, 16 years after his wife's death, the Feng family's company changed its name to Zheng. From then on, the Zheng family was established, starting out as a major household. Meng Shichu spoke unhurriedly, but her words made everyone at the table widen their eyes in shock and disbelief. This was because among those present, only the second aunt's surname was Zheng, her full name being Zheng Mengwan. Zheng Mengwan scolded, Meng Shichu, you're talking nonsense. Mrs. For the second, don't be anxious. I haven't finished yet. A young lady raised by a proper prominent family should know that it is basic etiquette and courtesy to wait for someone to finish speaking before interjecting, correct? Meng Shichu's light-hearted rhetorical question was like the heaviest slap, landing hard on Zheng Mengjuan's face. Zheng Mengjuan's face instantly turned the color of pig's liver. 3 generations ago in the Zheng family was over 100 years ago. Such old stories, washed away by the torrent of time, had long been buried in the river of years. How could they suddenly be dug up in front of everyone? The atmosphere could no longer be described as stiff and awkward. No one dared to breathe. The storm was brewing. Father He wanted to intervene, but Meng Shichu spoke again. The first generation of the Zheng family, after the son-in-law took over the Feng family's assets, he found a new love. However, he also had 2 sons and a daughter outside of the marriage. One of these illegitimate sons, valuing his pride, did not return to the main clan, but established a new ancestral hall and a new Zheng family. Old Master Zheng Wenqin was a remarkable figure, But unfortunately, he was criticized for years for divorcing his first wife to be with his true love. Meng Shichu, shut up! Zheng Mingwan shrieked, her voice sharp and trembling. Meng Shichu tilted her head slightly, staring at Zheng Mingwan. The current old matron of the Zheng family rarely leaves her home. Her recent birthday banquet was grand. She is truly a cherished person, so well cared for. Meng Shichu. Mrs. Zheng. Meng Shichu's voice suddenly became sharp, and her form of address for Zheng Mingwan changed again. Her expression was no longer gentle, her gaze as sharp as a blade. Your mother gave birth to you less than 6 months after she married into the family. Time is a frightening thing. Only a 60-year cycle has passed, and not only have outsiders forgotten these things, but even the people involved seem to have forgotten as well. To put it nicely, Zheng Mengjuan's mother's true love had triumphed. To put it bluntly, she was a mistress who had risen to power. She had even come to the family pregnant to be legitimized. In that sense, what difference was there between her and an illegitimate daughter? You, Meng Shichu. You. Zheng Mengjuan's face was deathly pale. She was swaying, unable to form a complete sentence. But Meng Shichu didn't let her off. So, Mrs. Zheng, since we both have the same kind of background, how could you have the audacity to push out old Master Zheng's daughter from his first wife within the Zheng family? And how did you have the nerve to marry into the Hoche family? Back then, besides having a father who loved both your mother and you, what else did you have to be so proud and arrogant about? And now, besides a declining Zheng family, if you were to cast aside your identity as the wife of the second master of the Hoche family, what do you have to be so haughty about? Meng Shichu's voice remained calm, yet her questions were aggressive and pressing. Zheng Mingwan couldn't answer. Meng Shichu let out a small laugh. Now, I will answer Mrs. Zheng's earlier question. I believe you were wrong. First, it was Hoche who actively sought to marry me, not me desperately trying to marry him. Second, Hoche and I are a perfect match. I said so. Finally, let me talk about what I possess. Meng Shichu sat up straight, her powerful voice flowing from her lips. My father is Pei Guangnian of one of Kyoto's 3 great families. My mother is Meng Ling, the largest shareholder and chairman of Xingyu Media. My stepfather is Ning Chuan, the founder of the nationally renowned Boyang Security Group. My 2 godfathers are Li Nanchen, the richest man in Yuchin, and Chen Yi, the founder of Xinghai Technology. I have shares in all of their companies. Additionally, I have been friends with Xia Yin for many years. I have shares in his company. His fiancée, a young lady from the Gu family, is my best friend, and the Gu family treats me as an honored guest. Finally, I'm the owner of Lin Shin Design. Meng Shichu rested her chin on her hand, her fingertips lightly tapping. My abilities are no weaker than Hoche's, my background is no lower than the Hoche family's, and my personal assets, roughly calculated. She didn't finish, but instead asked Zheng Mingwan with a smile. Mrs. Zheng, do you need me to calculate it? The room was silent. No one made a sound. Zheng Mingwan stared at Meng Shichu, her face pale, her eyes filled with terror. It felt as if her throat was being choked, and she couldn't make sound. Her entire history had been exposed, and the person who did it, while on the surface an illegitimate daughter, was in reality a young lady with a staggering background. Zheng Mengjuan's mind went blank, her heart pounding wildly. A wave of darkness washed over her, and she collapsed to the floor. Mom! Zheng Mengjuan's children cried out, catching her. At that moment, Meng Shichu also stood up. She gave a slight nod to father and Mother Hua. I apologize for disrupting this family dinner. My mother, my stepfather, and my godfathers never taught me how to swallow my anger. My father and my brother also told me not to let myself be wronged. It was my fault for not holding back. I will apologize again when I have the chance to visit next time. Farewell. No need to see me out. With that, Meng Shichu turned and walked out. The atmosphere was tense. Hoche's face was extremely ugly. Father Hua gave him a look. I'm leaving first, Hoche said, then strode after Meng Shichu. Once Hoche left, the air in the dining room grew even more somber. The unconscious Zheng Mingwan was helped away by the butler and made to be treated by the family doctor. Father Hua slammed his chopsticks on the table. Great. Now everyone is unhappy. I told you 1,000 times not to cause trouble. Just have a nice meal and meet. You just had to show off. Father Hua was furious, glaring at his second brother. Hoche is my son. I've accepted it, so what can't you swallow? At least since he got married this time, he stopped acting up. It's much better than him chasing after Xia Yin and being called a crazy simp. The second uncle retorted, this Meng Shichu is no pushover. Look at the things she said. Is that how a junior should speak to an elder? Are those words she should be saying? Father Hua slammed his hand on the table. If your wife hadn't been making sarcastic remarks and deliberately targeting her, would Meng Shichu have dug up old history? Side, the third uncle sighed. The children will have their own fortunes. Why should we, the elders, worry so much? We didn't say anything when Xiao Che was acting so foolishly before. He sought this marriage himself. No matter what, it has nothing to do with little Meng. Second sister-in-law crossed the line today. The second uncle fell silent. Father Hua stood up and left his seat. After a few steps, he stopped. From now on, these weekend family dinners are canceled. Let's not gather anymore. Mother Hua also stood up and left. It was supposed to be a good meeting. In their brief interaction, she had actually grown to like Meng Shichu. But after the fuss caused by her second sister-in-law, she suddenly felt that with her astounding background, it was her son Hoche who was not worthy of her younger daughter-in-law. Jiang Wu drove the car, and Jiang Wen opened the door for Meng Shichu. Just as Meng Shichu got in, Hoche caught up and got in as well. Why did you come out? Meng Shichu asked. Hoche replied, I'm the one who started this whole mess. I can't let you take the blame. Since you left, I'm leaving too. In the end, it was his proposal that had caused Meng Shichu to be slighted today. He noticed, however, that Meng Shichu didn't seem angry. Her expression was calm, her tone even. He, on the other hand, couldn't do that. When he was angry, it showed on his face and in his tone. The car started and drove out of the Hua family mansion. Meng Shichu asked Jiang when to pick a place to eat while she replied to messages on her phone. Beside her, Hoche was looking at a message from Huacheng. It said that his father was furious, had scolded the second uncle, and had even canceled the weekly family dinners. Hoche relayed this outcome to Meng Shichu and comforted her, telling her not to be too angry, and that if she was really angry, she could yell at him. Meng Shichu smiled. I'm not angry anymore. The person who made her unhappy was now even unhappier. She had vented her anger before it could even settle. The score was settled. So what was there to be unhappy about? Hoche's phone vibrated. He tapped it open and his expression changed drastically. Grandma had come down from the mountain. After lunch, Hoche suddenly said to Meng Shichu, let's go out and have some fun. Where to? Meng Shichu wasn't very interested in having fun, but she didn't want to spoil Hoche's mood. Is there any city you particularly want to visit? Seeing her fall silent, Hoche suggested, let's go to Yuchin. A hint of surprise appeared on Meng Shichu's usually calm face. Yuchin was the city where she was born and raised. It was also the city where her mother had settled. If Pei Guangyan hadn't suddenly appeared last year, she might have settled in Yuchin as well. It was a very warm city, at least for her. Hoche said, let's go meet my mother-in-law. All right. Meng Shichu nodded. She hadn't been back in a few months either. They made arrangements immediately. Meng Shichu's bodyguard, Jiang Wu, would accompany them. While waiting to board the plane, Hoche received a call from Huacheng. As soon as he answered, Huacheng asked, where are you? Grandma's home. She wants you to bring Meng Shichu back. Hoche glanced at Meng Shichu, who was busy typing on her phone beside him, and said to Huacheng, Shichu and I are in Yuchin. I'll go see Grandma on Monday. There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line. Huacheng was speechless. You sure ran fast. After their grandfather passed away, their grandmother had become the final authority in the whole family. Later, when she grew tired of it, she went to live and practice at a temple on a mountain, and it was only then that Father Hua took charge of the family. For the old lady to come down from the mountain at this juncture, it was most likely because of his marriage to Meng Shichu. Hoche's most profound memory of his grandmother was of a woman from a scholarly family who was strong-willed and always had the final say. She had kept his grandfather on a tight leash back in the day. Hoche was also quite intimidated by his grandmother. Moreover, the old lady placed the utmost importance on family background. It was said that when his second uncle and second aunt got married, if it hadn't been for his grandfather's insistence on letting the lovers be together, his grandmother would never have allowed the second aunt to marry into the whole family. Now, he had followed in his second uncle's footsteps, marrying on a whim and without any true love involved. He feared his grandmother would skin him alive. Hoche figured he had caused this mess, so he would go home and beg for forgiveness after Meng Shichu went to work. Seeing him hang up the phone, Meng Shichu asked without looking up, did the Hua family ask you to go back? Hoche put on a relaxed expression. It's nothing, just Grandma's back. Meng Shichu's typing hands paused, and she looked up at him. Hasn't the old lady been on the mountain for many years? She knew everything about the second aunt's family, so Hoche wasn't surprised that she also knew his grandmother had been on the mountain. She's getting old. We've been trying to persuade her to come back. The mountain is too Spartan. Grandma's spiritual practice must be complete. Meng Shichu's lips curved up. I've heard that the Hua family's grandmother comes from a scholarly family, but has an unusually strong and unyielding temperament. If the old lady came down from the mountain because of your marriage to me, you'll have to handle it yourself. Their eyes met, and Hoche's expression turned awkward for a moment. He rubbed his nose and nodded. Yes, I'll handle it myself. Don't worry, I'll try my best not to involve you. Meng Shichu gently patted his hand. I'll comfort you if you get upset, but I'm probably not willing to face your old lady. She couldn't stand being upset, and an elderly person couldn't either. Avoiding a face-to-face confrontation would reduce some of the anger. If she really angered the old lady and something happened, it would be even harder to explain. Hoche took her hand. I'll handle it well. Then I'll have to trouble my husband. Meng Shichu smiled. This was the first time Meng Shichu had called Hoche husband in public since her business trip. She said it so naturally that Hoche felt an involuntary tremor in his heart. It was a strange feeling, as if his sense of responsibility as a husband had peaked with that single word. It was past 5 o'clock when they stepped out of the Yuchin airport. The person picking them up had been waiting for a long time. As soon as he saw Meng Shichu, he immediately came forward. Miss, the car is over there. In the car, Meng Shichu's phone rang once and then was hung up. She thought it was a spam call, but then saw it was from Hoche beside her. Hoche pointed at her phone, and only then did Meng Shichu see an unread WeChat message, also from him. Hoche, where are we going now? Meng Shichu home. Hoche, I need to go to the mall first to buy some things. It's too impolite to go empty-handed. Meng Shichu, I've already had someone prepare them. Hoche, Meng Shichu pulled up another chat window and showed it to Hoche. Hoche let out a sigh of relief after reading it. Meng Shichu had already arranged for someone to buy gifts and have them sent to the Ning family in her name. Hoche returned the phone to Meng Shichu and sent her another WeChat message. What should I call your stepfather later? It was a last-minute decision to come to Yuchin, and he only knew that Meng Shichu had a good relationship with her stepfather. When she talked about him, she always said, my stepfather, so he didn't know how she addressed him. Meng Shichu, whatever you want. Hoche, what do you call your stepfather? Meng Shichu, I call him Dad. Meng Shichu, you can call him Uncle. It's fine. Oh, okay. Oh, gotit. The car finally stopped at a standalone villa. The butler came forward to open the door. Miss, welcome home. Welcome, young master-in-law. Meng Shichu got out of the car. Uncle Chi, long time no see. Yes, it's been a long time since you've been back, miss. The young master has asked about you many times. Uncle Chi smiled and led them into the house, saying as they walked, we've received all the things the young master-in-law sent. In the living room, Uncle Chi immediately served tea. Sir is on his way back. Madam is at a conference abroad and hasn't returned yet. The young master's training will be over in another hour. Although Meng Shichu already knew all this, Uncle Chi still reported everything in detail. Meng Shichu asked Hoche, shall I show you around? Sure. The front yard of the villa was planted with many flowers, all in full, vibrant bloom, a riot of colors. Meng Shichu said, my mom is a romantic, so Dad planted a whole garden of flowers for her. There are always flowers blooming throughout the year. Our dad and mom have such a good relationship. Hoche tightened his grip on Meng Shichu's hand. What flowers or plants do you like? How about I plant some for you too? Although he and Meng Shichu weren't together because of love, he felt that as long as they were both working in the same direction, their future would surely be loving and happy. Falling in love over time was an old adage that had been proven by many. Before Meng Shichu could answer, Hoche overturned his own idea. You like keeping small animals. It would be more practical for me to build a home zoo. Meng Shichu smiled. Hoche gave her the impression that he was also learning how to get along with her, how to date her. He had pursued another woman for years, and sometimes appeared very experienced. Yet at other times, he seemed like a novice. It was quite interesting. Meng Shichu led Hoche to the backyard, and he was dumbfounded. Apart from a few half-grown saplings, there were no flowers or grass in the villa's backyard. There were none of the standard villa features like rockeries, ponds, corridors, or pavilions. The backyard was divided into several plots of land, where lush green vegetables grew. Some had already been harvested. Is this our mom's hobby too? It was the first time Hoche had seen a villa's backyard turned into a vegetable garden. Meng Shichu said, this is Dad's hobby. In his spare time, he tends to the soil, grows some green vegetables, and then shares them with Mom. He loves to grow Chinese cabbage in flower pots in his study. As she was speaking, a voice suddenly rang out. Hoche turned to see that Meng Shichu had already walked over and called out, Dad. The person who had arrived was Meng Shichu's stepfather, Ning Chuan. Ning Chuan was holding a fruit platter. As he approached, he gave it to Meng Shichu. Weren't you supposed to meet the Hoche family elders today? Did they give you a hard time? As Ning Chuan spoke to Meng Shichu, his gaze was fixed on Hoche. Feeling guilty about the matter, Hoche lacked confidence and awkwardly called out, "Dad." He didn't even dare to meet Ning Chuan's eyes. Ning Chuan, in his 50s, was tall and well-built. The aura of a superior in his posture and bearing was different from that of an ordinary businessman. He gave off the feeling of someone who had been through hails of bullets, like a general who had won many battles. It made sense. The founder of a security company would indeed have a different aura from a typical merchant. At this moment, Meng Shichu spoke up. "Dad, it has nothing to do with Hoche." "All right," Ning Chuan chuckled. "If you say it has nothing to do with him, then it has nothing to do with him." Then he said to Hoche, "Xiaohua, if you had the courage to ask for my daughter's hand in marriage, then you must also have the ability to protect her well. Fulfill your responsibilities as a husband, and don't bring shame upon us men." "Dad, rest assured I will." Hoche nodded. Seeing that he seemed a bit awkward addressing him, Ning Chuan said, "If you're not used to it, you can call me uncle. I'm not that particular." Hoche explained, "I'm not used to it. It was just that having two fathers-in-law felt a bit strange." The three of them returned to the living room to chat over tea. Before long, a guest arrived. The voice was heard before the person was seen. "Brother Chuan, I heard Xiao Chu brought her husband back. Has he arrived yet?" 2 seconds after the voice fell, the person appeared. It was a middle-aged man, tall and handsome, looking cheerful and kind. As soon as he entered, he saw Meng Shichu and his eyes curved into a smile. "Xiao Chu Chu. Uncle Yao, long time no see. I was planning to visit you with Hoche tomorrow." Meng Shichu had already stood up and turned to introduce Hoche beside her. "This is my godfather Li's younger brother, second Master Li. The second master of the Li family, the richest in Yuchin, and now the head of the Li family." Hoche followed Meng Shichu's lead and greeted him. "Hello, Uncle Yao. I'm Hoche." "Good, you're a good lad. Marrying the girl we watched grow up. You got lucky." Li Jinyao raised his hand, and the people behind him came forward, each holding a box filled with priceless treasures. "Happy wedding to you both." Li Jinyao said to Meng Shichu, "Last time you said that bastard was plotting against you and the wedding wouldn't be successful. I thought these wedding gifts wouldn't be in your hands for a while. I didn't expect the wedding to happen after all. If I had known, I would have attended." Meng Shichu said, "The outcome was a surprise to me too. Her original intention was to ruin the wedding scene, but she hadn't expected Hoche to jump in. She had also been motivated by personal gain, but after a week of being together, she felt that Hoche wasn't bad either. She was already starting to look forward to this marital relationship." The few of them chatted casually, and gradually, Hoche lost his initial restraint. Just before dinner, Ning Muron finally arrived home. Ning Muron was Meng Shichu's younger brother, from the same mother but a different father. The 16-year-old boy was full of youthful energy, bouncing into the living room with a beautiful bouquet of flowers in his hands. "Sis, Malasia sis." Ning Muron rushed to Meng Shichu, thrusting the flowers into her hands. "Sis, happy wedding. I didn't even get to roll on your bed for good luck. What a pity." Turning his head, Ning Muron grinned at Hoche. "Hello, brother-in-law." "Hello to you too." Hoche took a thick red envelope from his pocket and handed it to him. "Come visit Kyoto when you have time." "Thanks, brother-in-law." Ning Muron took the red envelope. "Even though I've taken my brother-in-law's red envelope, you still can't bully my sister, okay? Don't worry, don't worry." The atmosphere at the Ning family's home was very relaxed. Everyone was warm and talkative, and the family atmosphere was harmonious and warm. In comparison, Hoche suddenly felt that the whole family wasn't so wonderful after all. The weekly family dinners were always particularly solemn, and his second uncle loved to make a big deal out of everything. He had always disliked the fixed Saturday family dinners, as did all the siblings of his generation. Now that they were canceled, it was a good thing. They had already separated their households anyway. It was fine to get together for holidays and festivals. There was no need to meet 4 times a month and hold summary meetings. He, for one, didn't like it. After dinner, Ning Muron dragged Meng Shichu upstairs to play a couple of rounds of games with him, while Hoche stayed in the living room, drinking tea and chatting with Ning Chuan and Li Jinyao. Hoche didn't hide the reason for his sudden decision to come to Yuchin today. The Hua family had indeed made things difficult for Meng Shichu. "Dad, Uncle Yao, please rest assured. My parents are very fond of Shichu. Because of what happened today, my dad has already canceled the family dinners. I will also stand by Shichu's side." She is wonderful, and I will protect her. Since these people had watched Meng Shichu grow up and had raised her to be so outstanding, he felt he should make them a promise and let them know his attitude. After all, his past record wasn't very flattering, and he didn't want them to worry that Meng Shichu would be wrong by being with him. Ning Chuan took a sip of tea and said, "In this situation, you didn't leave Xiao Chu alone at the Hua family home and even accompanied her back to Yuchin. I know your attitude. Don't worry, Xiaohua. We are not unreasonable people." Li Jinyao also reassured Hoche. After a while, Meng Shichu came downstairs and chatted with him for a bit before Li Jinyao got up to leave. Meng Shichu and Hoche saw him off. Before getting into his car, Li Jinyao waved. "Rest early. Come over for lunch tomorrow." "Okay, Uncle Yao." After watching Li Jinyao's car leave, Meng Shichu asked Hoche, "Want to go for a walk?" Sure. This was his first time in this city, and he had just had a meal with the second master of the local richest family. It was a strange feeling. The two of them walked along the street and unknowingly ended up in the bustling downtown area. Just as they were about to head back, Ning Yuan called. "Sis, where are you and brother-in-law?" After Meng Shichu told him her current location, Ning Yuan said, "I'll be right there. Let's go get some barbecue." Meng Shichu asked, "Weren't you full from dinner?" Ning Yuan said, "I haven't had barbecue in so long. Dad won't let me. But since my sister is back, you can cover for me. Please, please, I'm a growing boy. I'm really craving it." Meng Shichu laughed. "We'll wait for you. Ride your scooter slowly." Meng Shichu put away her phone. Hoche asked, "What's up with Xiaoran? He wants to go out for barbecue. Dad usually doesn't let him eat the kind of junk food." "I see." Hoche couldn't help but sigh. "You and your brother have a great relationship. Back then, when my mom and dad wanted to have a child, they discussed it with me for a long time. It wasn't that I was unwilling, but they wanted me to understand the potential impact another child could have on me. They didn't want me to be unhappy after the child was born." Meng Shichu said, "And I did want a younger brother or sister. After Xiao Ran was born, I often took care of him. By the time he was 3, I was already taking him to school with me." It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that Ning Yuan grew up following at her heels. The little guy had been very clingy to her since he was young. The first time Ning Yuan got into a fight, it was also for her. These were things Meng Shichu hadn't mentioned before. Hoche joked, "This little brother-in-law also boxes. It seems I really won't dare to challenge you in the future." Meng Shichu wrapped her arms around Hoche's waist. "Don't worry, I'm not one to tattle. You don't have to worry either. I will work hard on our relationship and strive to be as loving as our dad and mom in the future." Meng Shichu looked up, her eyes smiling. "I'll look forward to it then. I'm looking forward to it too." Hoche leaned down and kissed her on the lips, then whispered in her ear, "Can we do it tomorrow night? I want to." Which decent person just gets to start having sex only to be interrupted by a relative? It was torture. Meng Shichu and Hoche found a barbecue restaurant and ordered some skewers. By the time Ning Yuan arrived on his electric scooter, everything was grilled and on the table. Wow, my sister knows me best. The last time I had barbecue was last year. Before even sitting down, Ning Yuan grabbed a skewer of duck intestines and started devouring it, grinning from ear to ear without a care for his image. It was delicious down to the bone. Hoche opened a can of Coke, poured a glass for Meng Shichu first, and then filled Ning Yuan's cup. "Thanks, brother-in-law." Ning Yuan sat down, not forgetting to tell them, "Don't tell my dad. He doesn't let me eat this stuff, and he doesn't let me drink Coke either." "Then why are you breaking the rules?" Meng Shichu said, handing a skewer of grilled gizzards to Hoche. "Try this. It's a different flavor from the delicacies you usually eat." Hoche took it. Although he hesitated, he still put it in his mouth. Since Ning Yuan and Meng Shichu were both eating it, it probably wouldn't kill him. Across from him, Ning Yuan let out a humph. "Well, I have my sister to cover for me. You think Dad won't scold me? He'll just scold you. For me, it would be a beating." The three of them happily finished their barbecue. It was almost 11 o'clock when they left the restaurant. Ning Yuan handed the scooter keys to Meng Shichu. "Sis, you and brother-in-law go ahead. I'll run back." "Are you sure?" Ning Yuan nodded. "I'm stuffed. I won't be able to sleep when I get home anyway." "All right then, take your time running." Meng Shichu didn't stand on ceremony. She got on the scooter and said to Hoche, "Get on." Hoche stared at the back seat of the scooter, finding it somewhat amusing, but he walked over and straddled the seat behind her. He asked, "Should I drive instead?" "I'll take you for a ride." As Meng Shichu's voice fell, the scooter shot forward. Hoche instinctively wrapped his arms around her waist. His wife's waist was so slender, but it didn't seem too soft. After all, she was a girl who grew up in the training grounds of a security company. She didn't have an ounce of extra fat on her. Every part of her was firm. Alluring. It felt good to touch. The scooter was on the road. Hoche rested his chin on Meng Shichu's shoulder and asked, "Are we really leaving Xiao Ran there?" "It's fine. He's familiar with this road." Besides, as the young master of the Ning family, there were bodyguards protecting him out of sight. He wouldn't be in any danger. When they got home, Ning Chuan was watering the flowers in the front yard. Seeing them enter, he asked, "Did Ning Muron eat too much again?" Meng Shichu nodded. "He overate slightly. He's running a bit to burn it off." "Dad, you're still up?" Hoche took the opportunity to change the subject. After all, Ning Muron had called him brother-in-law so smoothly. "Waiting for you." Ning Chuan put down the watering can. "You two come with me." Hoche held Meng Shichu's hand. This father-in-law looked very serious. Meng Shichu reassuringly patted his hand and shook her head slightly. The three of them went to the study. Ning Chuan handed a stack of documents from his desk to Meng Shichu. "Take a look." Meng Shichu took them and saw 3 property deeds, 2 car titles, one of which was for a limited edition sports car, 4 factory ownership documents, shares in a company, and a check for 66,660,000. Meng Shichu's expression changed slightly. Before she could speak, Ning Chuan said, "Your dowry." "This is a lot," Meng Shichu said, showing no intention of refusing. "This is a lot." Ning Chuan smiled. "When I die, you'll get a share of my inheritance too. I told you that a long time ago." He had to live up to the dad his daughter called him. Meng Shichu frowned. "Dad, if Mom finds out you're talking about dying, she'll definitely be angry with you for days." As a romantic, she hated all discussions about life and death. And Ning Chuan, in order to spend more time with Meng Ling, had quit smoking and drinking and was diligent about exercising and regular checkups. Sure enough, upon hearing Meng Shichu mention Meng Ling, Ning Chuan's expression immediately softened. "Just don't tell her. Don't talk nonsense in the future. Dad will live to be over 100. Ning Chuan raised an eyebrow. "Who says?" "Meng Shichu." "I say." All right, I'll live to be 100. Ning Chuan smiled and reached out to pat Meng Shichu's head. This scene, in Hoche's eyes, was particularly heartwarming. The next second, Ning Chuan turned to him with a serious expression. "From what I've seen, you seem to be a responsible man who is serious about marriage. I can rest assured about you for now. But I still have to make it clear to you. Although I only met Xiao Chu's mother when she was 5, she has never suffered or been wronged since she was born. I've raised her as my own daughter all these years. Don't even think about scheming against her, using her, or bullying her." Although to outsiders, Meng Shichu's status was awkward everywhere, she was not someone without backing. "I naturally hope that you will support each other and spend the rest of your lives together. But I also know that no marriage is smooth sailing. If problems arise in this marriage, don't torment her, or I will not let you off." Hoche nodded solemnly. "Dad, I will definitely not hurt her. You don't need to make promises. I will watch the process and wait for the results." Ning Chuan patted Hoche's arm. "I'm a good judge of character. I can see that you are a man of integrity." Hoche noticed that Ning Chuan's eyes seemed a little red. He had heard people say that a father raising a daughter is like nurturing a precious flower. Just when it's at its best, a thief called a son-in-law comes and takes both the pot and the flower away. Ning Chuan had raised Meng Shichu for 18 years. Their father-daughter bond must be very deep. Back in their room, Hoche found that they hadn't been given separate rooms here either. It seemed this was another practical materialist. In this unfamiliar environment, Hoche held Meng Shichu and fell asleep without any insomnia. After breakfast, Meng Shichu and Hoche went out and accompanied Ning Muron to the training ground. During the summer vacation, Ning Muron had a very systematic training schedule. Although he complained about how hard it was every day, he never missed a single day. After spending half the morning at the training ground, Meng Shichu and Hoche left, went for a stroll in the mall, and then headed to the Li family's home. The Li family was large and prosperous, but there were not many family members. Many years ago, the Li family was quite populous, but after a major incident, some left and some scattered, leaving only Li Jinyao and his older brother. Unfortunately, Li Jinyao's older brother, Li Nanshan, had a rather special situation regarding his love life, so the Li family line was only being passed down through Li Jinyao. A few years ago, Li Nanshan let go of the Li families and the group's affairs, and Li Jinyao took over, making him extremely busy. Hoche knew a little about this. Although Yuchin and Kyoto were far apart, and he didn't know much about the Li family's internal affairs, he had heard some things. For example, the story of the Li family's eldest young master and his young boyfriend had caused a huge sensation back then. At first, they were ridiculed and scorned, but later it became a much-told tale of love within their circle. Those two were both very brave. He had also heard that in order to be with Chun Yi, Li Nanshan had not only publicly declared his love, but had also threatened to give up the Li family's vast fortune. But then Chun Yi disappeared for many years, and many people said that Li Nanshan's young boyfriend had run off with his money, deceiving both the body and heart of the eldest young Master Li. However, the two later reconciled and got back together. It was no wonder that on their wedding day, Meng Shichu had said to Hixing, "It just so happens that the person you deeply love is of the same gender." This is another way heaven allows humans to express love, sacred and equal. Her mother and stepfather had a beautiful relationship, and her two godfathers were brave and steadfast. Everything around her was so wonderful. At 5 in the afternoon, Meng Shichu and Hoche boarded a plane. By the time they arrived in Kyoto, it was already past 7. Hoche had booked a table at a restaurant before they boarded, and they headed straight there after getting in the car. In the car, his assistant, Yimo, brought up a matter. Xia Yin was looking for Hoche frantically. She had even gone to the Hoche family mansion. Hoche frowned. Why was this person so relentless? It was Xia Yin who didn't want to be with him. Now that they had really broken up, she was starting to pester him again. Yimo was about to say more, but Hoche stopped him. "Don't talk about her. I don't want to hear it." "Understood." Yimo stopped talking about Xia Yin and instead said, "The family wants you to come home tomorrow, young master." "I know." Yimo hesitated for a moment, then added, "They want Madam to come along as well." They said, "The message has been relayed to me. That's enough." Hoche cut Yimo off and turned to Meng Shichu. "Don't worry about it. I'll go back by myself tomorrow." Hoche had booked a table at a couple's restaurant. From the moment she walked in, Meng Shichu was stunned by the sight before her. It was a scene of lavish and beautiful romance, with a romantic atmosphere everywhere. Even the private room numbers were like sweet nothings, either numerical or poetic. Hoche had pre-ordered the food, which suited Meng Shichu's taste, and had also opened a bottle of red wine. During the meal, Hoche said, "This trip to Yuchin has left a deep impression on me." "How so?" Meng Shichu was puzzled. This young master from a prominent family was not new to travel. Why did this trip make such an impact? Hoche said, "I envy the relationship between dad and mom, and I also envy the courage of your two godfathers, even though I haven't met them in person." After a pause, Hoche added, "My dad and my mom had a purely business-arranged marriage. They rarely argued, but their life seemed to lack any spark. It was very smooth but bland and boring. My dad is not romantic, and my mom doesn't need romance. Although they had 2 children, there seems to be no love between them. They had just lived together for many years, skipping the love part and going straight from strangers to family. When getting along with family, you don't need passion or novelty." Meng Shichu smiled after hearing this. "That's not so bad. At least their life is free of ups and downs. Living a stable and smooth life like that is what many people pursue." Hoche said, "But I long for love. I know what that heart-pounding, intense feeling is like." "What is that feeling like?" Meng Shichu became interested. She put down her chopsticks, propped her chin on her hands, and stared at Hoche across the table. A heart-thumping love. She had heard of it and seen it, but had never experienced it herself. She had never even looked forward to the love and being loved in a romantic relationship. Because she had grown up in love, had always been loved, and did not lack love, she did not yearn for romance. Hoche wanted to describe it to Meng Shichu, but he opened his mouth several times without being able to express it. In the end, he laughed and shook his head. "I can't explain it clearly. It's just a feeling." "All right. It seems it can only be understood intuitively, not explained in words." Meng Shichu didn't press him. Hoche smiled and said, "Being with the one you love is a very fortunate thing. You feel like you must have accumulated good karma in a past life. Then it's a pity for you." Meng Shichu said with regret. He liked Xia Yin so much, but couldn't be with her. How could it not be a pity? Hoche knew she was talking about Xia Yin. "I know you don't mean any harm, but I really don't love her anymore. My stepfather said that once you fall in love with someone, it's very hard to forget." Meng Shichu picked up her chopsticks, took a bite of food, and added, "My godfather also said that when you fall in love with someone, you must hold on to them for a lifetime. You can't forget them." Back then, when Godfather Chen had his accident, everyone thought he was dead. Only Godfather Li refused to believe it. He waited for many years and never forgot Godfather Chen, and in the end, he waited for him to come back. "I don't mean anything else. If you can't forget Xia Yin, then don't. At least for now, I don't mind." Meng Shichu said it with frankness and indifference. But Hoche knew very well that she didn't mind because she had no feelings for him. Never mind him not being able to forget Xia Yin. She probably wouldn't even bat an eye if he had an accident and died the next second. Hoche lowered his head and gave a bitter smile. You can't forget because the wound isn't deep enough, and you don't know how mutually destructive it would be to persist. If you knew, you could carve it out of your heart with a knife. Meng Shichu found this topic interesting and asked, so, how do you know that persisting would be mutually destructive? Hoche pursed his lips and remained silent, as if he didn't want to talk about it, or as if he was thinking about how to phrase it. If you don't want to talk about it, then don't. I won't force you. Meng Shichu's voice was calm. Her curiosity had never been strong. But Hoche suddenly spoke. I had a dream before. The experiences of his past life were now being told to his wife in the form of a dream. Hoche spoke slowly, narrating the long, sad story with a particularly bleak ending. It was truly a case of mutual destruction. Meng Shichu listened quietly without interrupting, although she found it quite absurd. After he finished, Hoche took a sip of red wine from his glass and looked at her. Unbelievable, isn't it? It's very bizarre. Meng Shichu didn't deny it. It was indeed hard to believe, but the dream had a complete logic. From beginning to end, it was a complete, closed loop with no flaws. The only flaw was that Hoche's love-addled brain had reached a demonic level. I've never told anyone about this dream. Now that I've said it out loud, I feel like a weight has been lifted from my heart. Although in Meng Shichu's eyes, it was just a dream or a fictional story. Talking about one's troubles really did make the person feel much lighter. So, after you woke up from the dream, you broke off your relationship with Miss Xia. Is that right? Meng Shichu didn't end the topic. She could see that Hoche wanted to talk to her about it. Hoche nodded. There's no point in the same tragedy happening a second time. And I do feel that I was more at fault. Stopping the loss in time. You're quite outstanding. Meng Shichu simply commented. Hoche held his wine glass, stared at Meng Shichu, and asked, Don't you think I'm just trying to fool you? Meng Shichu said, I'm a materialist. Although I don't believe dreams can come true, I won't force you to be a materialist with me. You can hold on to your beliefs, and I can hold on to my understanding. There's no conflict. These words filled Hoche's eyes with a smile. That attitude of not understanding but still respecting was particularly comforting. The two raised their glasses in a toast. Hoche said, In that dream of mine, you appeared. What was my ending? Hoche said without a second thought. As outstanding as a queen, radiating with brilliance. Meng Shichu was slightly lost in thought for a moment, then raised her glass again. To your discerning eye, Hoche, to your radiant brilliance. As soon as Meng Shichu finished her shower, she went to the study. Tomorrow was a work day, because her stepfather had given her several more properties, and since they were now hers, she naturally needed to manage them herself. Meng Shichu was coordinating with her assistants in advance, arranging for the management to move in. She had quite a few properties under her name, many of which were handled by professional managers. Even for those without managers, she had placed people she trusted in charge. But ultimately, there were strategic decisions that required her personal review, so she was bound to be busy. Knock, knock, knock. A knock sounded on the door. Just as Meng Shichu looked up, the door was pushed open. Hoche, wearing a bathrobe, walked in and wrapped his arms around Meng Shichu's neck from behind her chair. You're working even on the weekend. How much longer will you be? Ahem. Meng Shichu coughed. Hoche was about to speak when he suddenly heard a man's voice coming from Meng Shichu's phone on the desk. Boss, it's very late. You should rest first. I'll send a detailed report to your email tomorrow. Sweet dreams, boss. The call was disconnected on the other end, and only then did the screen light up. Hoche froze, petrified. Meng Shichu turned to look at him, a smile playing on her lips. When she saw Hoche's cheeks turn as red as a cooked shrimp, that smile grew even brighter. Mortified, Hoche wished he could find a hole to crawl into. He forced himself to explain, I saw you were holding a document, your computer was off, and your phone screen was dark. If he had known she was on a conference call, he never would have spoken in that tone. It's fine. They won't spread rumors, Meng Shichu said, wrapping her arms back around Hoche's neck. Sorry for making you wait so long. When it came to work, she tended to lose track of time. It was a habit she really needed to change. She picked up a pen, made a few marks on the document, then set the pen and document down. She stood up from her chair, turned, and fell into Hoche's embrace. Meng Shichu wrapped her hands around Hoche's neck, tilted her head up, and kissed him without a moment's hesitation. Direct, proactive, fervent. A passionate invitation. After just one deep kiss, Hoche couldn't wait to get back to the bedroom. This study wasn't bad either. It had a sofa, a rug, and floor-to-ceiling windows. Whatever Hoche wanted, Meng Shichu complied. Dry firewood meeting a fierce flame, One round of passionate pleasure followed another, as if it could never be enough. When the moon was high in the sky, its brilliance streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the dimly lit study and casting a porcelain-white glow on the woman in his arms. She was gentle, but not weak. Hoche leaned in close to her ear, his voice hoarse. "Shichu, your voice is so beautiful." In the erotic haze, Meng Shichu felt as if flames had been lit on her skin. Hoche's words were like adding fuel to the fire. She reached back to caress the man's face. It was scorching hot. "Hubby." Her voice was soft and fragmented, laced with a coquettishness she rarely showed. That one word was like a sharp arrow, piercing every one of Hoche's nerves. He said, somewhat fiercely, "Wifey, what should I do? I really want to make you cry." Meng Shichu turned her head, squinted her eyes, and kissed Hoche's lips, taking the opportunity to bite his lower lip. "Hiss." Hoche sucked in a breath, but didn't pull away. Instead, he captured her lips and bit back. Meng Shichu heard Hoche ask her, "Does wifey want to bite me until I cry? Let's see what you've got." MMM. A night of drunken dreams and intoxicating death. When it was over, they were both exhausted, but they still managed to wash up briefly before holding each other and falling into a deep sleep. Meng Shichu's internal clock was always punctual. When she opened her eyes, she found herself imprisoned in Hoche's arms. His grip was so tight that it was difficult for her to even think about getting up. Patting his hand, Meng Shichu said, "Hoche, let go." As soon as she spoke, she realized her voice was incredibly hoarse. "No." Hoche didn't even open his eyes. "Sleep a little longer. I have to go to work." "Don't go." Not only did Hoche not let go, he held her even tighter. Meng Shichu patted him again. "Let go quickly. Don't fool around." The next second, her hand was forcibly pulled away, and the space in his arms was empty. Hoche woke with a jolt. Seeing that Meng Shichu had already sat up and gotten out of bed, he quickly asked, "What's wrong?" He had been half asleep. What just happened? Why did it feel like Meng Shichu was angry? Meng Shichu turned her head and said flatly, "It's nothing. I'm going to wash up. You were so tired last night. Why not rest a bit more?" Hoche still wanted to laze in bed, and it would be even better if Meng Shichu could stay with him. Meng Shichu said, "I tell myself I'm not tired, so I don't feel that tired." "No. Why are you deceiving yourself like that?" Hoche was shocked. What was the difference between that and mental conditioning? "It's called self-encouragement." Meng Shichu had already put on her slippers and was heading to the bathroom. Watching her retreating back, Hoche said, "I have to go to the Hua family estate later to be criticized. Can you stay with me a little longer?" Hearing this, Meng Shichu stopped and turned to look at Hoche. The man propped himself up, looking at her. Perhaps because he hadn't slept enough, his eyes were a bit dazed, and his expression was helpless. Seeing her look over, he let his arm fall and lay back down, pulling the blanket up. "You have a lot of work. Go get busy. I'll get up in a little while too." Meng Shichu responded and went to wash up. Hoche closed his eyes, thinking he would get up after Meng Shichu was ready. But a moment later, the blanket was lifted, and Meng Shichu lay back down, nestling into his arms. Hoche was puzzled. "Aren't you going to work?" Although he was asking, his arms had already wrapped around her. Meng Shichu said, "I suddenly feel like another nap wouldn't be so bad. You're so soft-hearted." Hoche kissed her on the forehead. "It seems like no matter what, if I pester you, speak softly, or use a little pity ploy, you'll give in." Meng Shichu chuckled softly without another word. "Hoche, what are you laughing at? You have a bit of a deep misunderstanding of me." "No misunderstanding, it's a fact," Hoche said. Meng Shichu hummed in agreement. "As long as you're happy." After lying there for another hour, Meng Shichu poked Hoche's face. "It's really time to get up." "Sigh. Life is not easy," Hoche sighed. "I don't want to go back to the old estate." "You have to face it sooner or later," Meng Shichu said calmly. "Adults always have to bear the consequences of their actions, whether they are good or bad." Hoche didn't want to open his eyes. "Do you think my grandma will make me kneel in the ancestral hall and have someone beat me?" Meng Shichu laughed and said 2 words, "Bad custom." But the ancestors also said that without rules, there can be no order. The reason some great families have been passed down from generation to generation is partly thanks to those bad customs. Hoche grumbled, "If I'm ever in charge, I'll definitely abolish all this." Then Meng Shichu poured a basin of cold water on him. "Wake up. It won't be your turn to be in charge." "Hoche eyes flew open. Wifey, you're so cruel." "It's just the truth. In terms of being the eldest son of the eldest son, Hoche was not. In terms of ability and achievements, Hoche's older siblings were all exceptionally outstanding. So, the position of head of the Hoche family would never fall to Hoche. Hoche buried his face in Meng Shichu's neck and kissed it. The tip of his tongue grazed maliciously over her skin, startling Meng Shichu and making her want to shrink back, but Hoche held her fast. My wife is Meng Shichu. That's also a fact. Meng Shichu was speechless. You're twisting the concept. I'm not. Because she got up late, Meng Shichu only drank some milk before heading out. Hoche dawdled until almost 11 o'clock before heading to the Hoche family estate. Because he had always been intimidated by his grandmother, he felt the atmosphere was off the moment he stepped inside. He stopped a servant outside the great hall and inquired, "What is my grandmother doing right now?" "Waiting for you, young master." "Oh, okay." All hope was lost. It seemed a beating was unavoidable. Grandmother paid attention to everything. Hoche straightened his shirt before entering the great hall. The atmosphere in the hall was even more solemn. Everyone from the Hoche family was present, including his movie star cousin. On any other day, this cousin would have rushed off to a film set immediately after the family dinner. But this time he had stayed until now. Strange. It was also enough to prove the severity of the situation. His second uncle and aunt were also there. When they saw Hoche enter, his second aunt's eyes glinted with sharp displeasure, while his second uncle had a cold expression and said nothing. Hoche walked up, stopped in the center of the great hall, and called out Grandma. Although the old lady was advanced in years, the gaze of a woman who had been dominant her entire life was always sharp. She raised her eyes, her gaze sweeping past Hoche to what was behind him. Suddenly, she spoke. "You came back alone?" Hoche nodded. Shichu has a few more properties on her hands, so she's busy with work. If she wasted a whole morning, she'd have to work late in the night again, so I told her to go handle her work. As his voice fell, the hall sank into a silence that felt like the calm before a storm. Hoche was afraid his grandmother would misunderstand and think Meng Shichu was deliberately avoiding her. The elderly tend to overthink things and might feel that Meng Shichu was ill-mannered for not coming to pay her respects. So he immediately spoke up again. "Grandma, I was a jerk before. What I did brought shame to the whole family. If you want to punish me, then punish me. I'll accept it all, but it has nothing to do with Shichu. It was my own idea to ask for Shichu's hand in marriage. She didn't agree because she was after the whole family's fortune. She agreed because she thought I was a decent enough person. She has her own reasons for not coming today. She doesn't have a soft personality and has never suffered any major grievances since she was a child. She was afraid of upsetting you. In short, Shichu is a very good girl. I've already started to like her a little. I have confidence that I can spend a lifetime with her. Everything wrong was my fault. Please, Grandma, punish me for what I did and don't take it out on Shichu." Hoche's resonant voice echoed through the hall, full of conviction and a willingness to take responsibility. After speaking, Hoche turned. "I'll go kneel in the ancestral hall." He prayed this family would never fall into his hands, where the first thing he'd do is abolish this ridiculous family law. In this day and age, there's national law outside and family law at home. Who could stand it? "Stop." The old lady suddenly spoke. Hoche stopped in his tracks. "Grandma, is there anything else you wish to lecture your grandson about? I haven't said a single word, yet you've already imagined so much. To avoid this old lady, you ran all the way to U City. Since when did your grandmother become a man-eating monster in your eyes?" Hoche was stunned for a moment. Didn't Grandma come down from the mountain because Shichu and I got married? The old lady's gaze shot towards him as she spoke coldly. "I didn't want to see what kind of blind girl, Meng Ling's daughter, would fall for you." Hoche was dumbfounded. The entire room was shocked. All eyes in the hall fell on the old lady's face, and the word "why" was written in everyone's eyes. Did the old lady's words mean that the whole family's youngest grandson wasn't good enough for Meng Shichu? Hoche's mouth was slightly agape. It took him a long while to come back to his senses. "Grandma, you know Shichu's mother?" The old lady didn't answer Hoche's question. Instead, she shifted her gaze to his second uncle and aunt. She spoke again. "Second son, second daughter-in-law. Back then I thought you two were brave enough for love. I quite admired your backbone. Although I didn't approve in my heart, with the united help of your father and your older and younger brothers, I didn't strongly oppose you. You've been rained on yourselves, and now you're thinking of tearing down the next generation's umbrella. Well done." The old lady's voice was clearly not as calm as before, now filled with anger. At this moment, everyone finally understood. The old lady had returned 2 days ago and said nothing. Today, she had gathered everyone not to reprimand Hoche, but to lecture the second branch of the family. The second uncle's face changed slightly. The second aunt was defiant. "Mom, The situation is completely different. Meng Shichu, It is indeed different, the old lady interrupted. The younger generation like Hoche may not know about that incident with the Pei family back then, but you don't know either. The second aunt, who had been about to argue, opened her mouth, but her voice seemed to be caught in her throat. The old lady spoke again. Are you really worried that Meng Shichu will bring gossip to the Hoche family? Or are you afraid that when people talk about little Che's wife, they'll be reminded that the Hoche family has another mistress whose origins are truly disgraceful? The words hit the second aunt's most vulnerable spot. She stood up. Mom, you're being biased. You shut up. The second uncle suddenly snapped. Don't you yell at Mom like that. The second aunt was not willing to back down. Mom is just biased. It was clearly Hoche who caused more trouble, but she protects him, and she even protects Meng Shichu, whom she's never even met. The old lady's brow furrowed, her expression particularly displeased. It seems second daughter-in-law has indeed forgotten what happened with the Pei family back then. Eldest son, you tell the younger generation. At the old lady's command, Hoche's father stood up and recounted the past events of the Pei family. Pei Guangyin and his wife had a typical business-arranged marriage. Not only was there no affection, but the wife also had a white moonlight she was desperately in love with. It was said that before marrying Pei Guangyin, the woman had attempted suicide. In the end, for the sake of profit, she was forced by her elders to marry him. 2 years into the marriage, they had a son, who was now the Pei family's eldest young master, Pei Jinhui. Just when Pei Jinhui was 1 year old, Mrs. Pei disappeared. The official story was that she was missing, but everyone in their circle knew that she had eloped with her white moonlight. She abandoned her 1-year-old son, deserted her husband, and ran off without a second thought. To save face, the matter was not widely publicized. 3 years passed like this, and Mrs. Pei did not return. When Pei Jinhui was 4, Pei Guangyin met the first girl who ever made his heart flutter. This person was Meng Shichu's mother, Meng Ling. Meng Ling was not from the capital. Her parents had passed away, leaving her with a huge inheritance and her own businesses. She was confident, independent, beautiful, and young. A successful woman like a protagonist from a novel, she had numerous suitors. And Meng Ling had set her sights on Pei Guangyin, who had a good reputation and was raising a child on his own. The two fell in love. Meng Ling was generous and treated Pei Guangyin's son, Pei Jinhui, as her own. In one accident, while saving Pei Jinhui, Meng Ling lost a finger. Their relationship was stable. After being passionately in love for over 5 years, Meng Ling's business also grew larger and larger. Just when they were about to discuss marriage, Pei Guangyin's runaway wife returned. The court had granted a divorce, but that couldn't stop the woman from causing trouble. The ex-wife made a huge and ugly scene. Unfortunately, Meng Ling had a stubborn personality, able to pick things up and let them go. She grew tired of the drama, gave up on Pei Guangyin, transferred her assets, and left the capital. The ex-wife thought that with a son connecting her to Pei Guangyin and Meng Ling gone, she could remarry him. But Pei Guangyin, having truly loved once, was no longer willing to compromise on his feelings in marriage. He has remained single ever since. The story wasn't long, but it was enough to upend the younger generation's imagination. Although they all thought Meng Shichu was a good person who couldn't choose her origins, they had also believed her mother was a despicable homewrecker. They never knew that what time had buried was such a reasonable and understandable story. Hoche was also plunged into shock. Because these matters were too sensitive, he had never asked Meng Shichu about them, and she had never brought them up. She never cared that others said her origins were bad, because most people didn't care whether her origins were legitimate or not either. In his days, Hoche was called away by the old lady. Under the wisteria trellis in the backyard, the old lady said to Hoche, "Your grandfather was still alive then. He took me traveling, and we met Meng Ling on a mountain while watching the sunset. She was 3 months pregnant at the time, and had probably just found out. She was hesitating about whether to have the child. Grandma sighed. I handed her a tissue, and she, a stranger, asked me for my opinion. What did you say, Grandma? Grandma's eyes softened. It was your grandfather who told her to set aside the man and just think about the child. Could she afford to raise this child? Would it potentially bring more unhappiness to her life? If she couldn't afford it, if it would make her unhappy, then she should let the child go and also let herself go." The old man told Meng Ling, "Young lady, you must first be yourself before you are a daughter, a mother, a wife, or any other role." Meng Shichu had to change her itinerary at the last minute and go on another business trip. On the way to the airport, she prepared to inform Hoche. Thinking that things at the Hoche family home were not peaceful today, Meng Shichu didn't call, but sent a WeChat message instead. Sudden business trip. Back tomorrow. Before boarding, she received a reply. Okay, go ahead. I'm fine. Meng Shichu, okay. Seeing it was almost time aboard, Meng Shichu still felt a little uneasy, so she made a call to Pei Jinhui. After hearing Meng Shichu's concerns, Pei Jinhui asked with a laugh, Are you really worried about him? Meng Shichu said, He is my husband. After all, if I don't worry about him, who else can I count on to? That makes sense. I'll go see him after work. If he's injured, I'll take him to a doctor. Don't worry. Meng Shichu, thank you for your trouble, big brother. I'm about to board. Before hanging up, Pei Jinhui couldn't help but say, Little Chu, don't work yourself so hard. Enjoy life more. Meng Shichu held her phone and remained silent for 2 seconds before responding, I know. After work in the afternoon, Pei Jinhui called Hoche. He had to call twice before the other side picked up. Hoche was puzzled. Big brother, is something up? Pei Jinhui, let's go out for dinner tonight. Are you free? Hoche asked. Is anyone else coming? Just you and me. Hoche felt uneasy. Big brother, is there something else you want to ask? Could it be that word of what his second uncle and aunt did to Meng Shichu at the Hoche family home on Saturday had reached the Pei family? Hearing his cautious tone, Pei Jinhui laughed. Don't overthink it. Shichu isn't in the capital. She was afraid you'd be punished by the Hoche family and have no one to comfort you. Oh, Hoche let out a sigh of relief, a hint of sweetness seeping into his heart. His wife really did care about him. Hoche agreed to have dinner with Pei Jinhui that evening, even handing off his final work tasks to Hocheng. Seeing him in such a rush, Hocheng grabbed him. What are you in such a hurry for? My brother-in-law invited me to dinner. I need to get there early. The smile on Hoche's face was like a flower blooming in spring, brilliant and bright. Hocheng was very satisfied with Hoche's recent changes. Before, when he was chasing after Xia Yin, he was like a walking corpse. Now, after marrying Meng Shichu, he had become visibly more lively and cheerful in a short period of time. But Pei Jinhui, asking Hoche to dinner, could it be that the incident on Saturday had reached the Pei family, and Pei Jinhui planned to hold him accountable? This circle was big, but also small. The slightest rumor could spread quickly, and that Pei Jinhui was no pushover. Hoche was definitely no match for him. Hocheng narrowed his eyes in concern. Should I go with you? My brother-in-law is treating me to dinner. What would you go for, big brother? Hoche's eyes widened. He understood Hocheng's good intentions and reassured him. Don't worry, my brother-in-law isn't looking to hold me accountable. It's because Shichu was worried I got punished at the Hoche family home and asked him to check on me. This outcome was beyond Hocheng's expectations. He then asked, Is Shichu not in the capital? Otherwise, why would she send someone else? The smile on Hoche's face immediately faded by half. She's on a business trip again. Hocheng couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth. How was she even busier than me? It's normal. Hoche explained on her behalf. Her mother's businesses are based in Lu City. Her stepfather's businesses are headquartered in Yu City. Her own company is in the middle of relocating, and the factories and companies her stepfather gave her aren't in the same place either. Of course, she can't just stay in one place. He explained with exceptional earnestness, as if afraid Hocheng would misunderstand something. Hocheng shot him a look. Fine, as long as you're happy. It wasn't his wife who was never home, so why should he worry? Shichu is a very good person, Hoche said. I know, you've said that 800 times. Get lost. Hocheng pushed him away. As long as there were no conflicts, it was fine. The low pressure at home had finally eased these past few days. He didn't want more drama. People have limited energy. Work is already hard enough. Fighting at home is just too ridiculous. Hoche thought he had arrived early, but Pei Jinhui was already there. Big brother. Hoche walked up. How did you get here so early? I had a meeting nearby and came straight over after it ended. Pei Jinhui pointed to the seat opposite him. Sit. I've already ordered. Do you drink? I won't. Hoche shook his head and said directly, Big brother, don't worry, and tell Shichu not to worry either. Grandma didn't punish me. The ones who got punished were my second uncle and aunt. Grandma is very much looking forward to meeting Shichu. Is that so? Pei Jinhui wasn't entirely convinced. I heard the Hua family's matriarch has quite a temper. I already know about what happened between my mother-in-law and the Pei family's old patriarch. Although Grandma has a strong personality, she's not an unreasonable person. Neither of them was at fault. After saying this, Hoche felt it was a bit pointed towards Pei Jinhui's biological mother and quickly apologized. Sorry, big brother. I mean, it was all the fault of arranged marriages. I know. Pei Jinhui smiled and shook his head. He had always understood one principle. With every gain, there's a loss. A person can't have their cake and eat it too. His mother wanted to be with her true love, but she also wanted him to have excellent living conditions and for the relationship to help her family. She was too greedy, and in the end, the losses outweighed the gains. In his heart, there was some resentment. When he was just learning to talk, his mother left. When he realized that other children had mothers, and he didn't, it was Annie Ming who took him in, stayed with him, and protected him. Just as he finally accepted Annie Ming, his mother couldn't stand the hardship of poverty and came back. Not only did she come back, but she also tore all their relationships to shreds and drove Annie Ming away. But his mother didn't care about him, because she had brought back the child she'd had with her first love. He once again became a child with only a father. And now, because his father had taken back the daughter he'd had with Annie Ming, his biological mother had started causing endless trouble, constantly inciting him. In short, she was deranged. He was already tired of it, so tired that he didn't even want to mention her. Pei Jinhuai's heart leaned more towards Meng Ling, and thus he felt he owed Meng Shichu even more. When he heard Hoche say that Meng Ling had once hesitated about whether to have that child, his heart tightened. Thankfully, Annie Ming was a brave and strong person, with both ability and capital. Otherwise, she might have really given up that child. And it was truly fortunate that she had met the kind and gentle elder Hua and his wife. Pei Jinhuai said, "It seems it was all fated." Those few words of comfort from Grandpa and Grandma would save their own young grandson's future wife. I think so too. It was all destined in the shadows. Hoche strongly agreed. It must have been because he had gone astray that heaven let him be reborn, leading him to marry Meng Shichu so unpredictably. He proposed, and she didn't refuse. It was the best arrangement heaven could have given him. After dinner, Hoche parted ways with Pei Jinhuai and drove back to his residence. Just as he was about to enter the gate, a dark figure suddenly rushed out and blocked his car. Hoche slammed on the brakes. The next second, the dark figure rushed over and started pounding on his car window. Hoche recognized her voice. Uoke, save me. I'm begging you, save me. Hoche, can you please open the door? I was wrong. I misunderstood you before. I really know I was wrong. Hoche, I'm begging you, open the car door. Xia Yin kept pounding on the car window from outside, begging incessantly. Inside the car, Hoche called the housekeeper and his assistant and also reported it to the police. He was resolute about not opening the car door. While waiting for them to arrive, Hoche called Meng Shichu. After 2 rings with no answer, he hung up and switched to a WeChat video call. The other end answered quickly, revealing Meng Shichu's puzzled expression. "Why did you call?" and then hang up. "What's that sound on your end? Who's shouting?" Hoche turned the camera around. Due to the darkness, all that could be seen was the figure of a woman. Meng Shichu laughed. "What? Are you trying to show me that the moment I'm gone, someone comes chasing after you?" Hoche was shocked. How is your logic so terrifying? The corners of Meng Shichu's lips lifted. "I'm teasing you," Hoche said. "I don't even dare to open my car door." Meng Shichu asked, "In most situations, a woman's strength is weaker than a man's. Are you really afraid she'll pounce on you?" Hoche made a sound of disgust. "Her state seems really off. It's the middle of the night. What if she's hiding a knife or something? I wouldn't be able to defend myself. What if I get stabbed?" Meng Shichu nodded. "Your concern is not without reason. It was always wise to be wary of others, even if they appeared to be a harmless woman or child." Hoche suddenly said, "The housekeeper is coming out with people. You handle it first. I'm going to take a shower. We can talk later." Hearing her say this, Hoche's eyebrows arched slightly. "Are you saying we can call or video chat later?" Meng Shichu, "If you're busy with other things, I won't disturb you." Hoche, "You know I don't like to work at night." Meng Shichu smiled. "Talk later." When the call ended, Hoche noticed the noise outside had stopped. The housekeeper had someone restrain Xia Yin. Only then did Hoche get out of the car. When the restrained Xia Yin saw Hoche, her eyes lit up. "Hoche, help me one more time. Just one more time, the last time, I beg you. We are already even. I have no reason to help you." Hoche walked over, ignoring the tears streaming down Xia Yin's face, and said, "I can see you've run into some kind of trouble, so I helped you by calling the police." "You're welcome." After speaking, Hoche tossed the car keys to the housekeeper and walked through the main gate himself. Behind him were Xia Yin's cries. "Okay, don't go. I saved your life. You can't abandon me. My parents are trying to sell me to an old man. Su Zizhou got engaged to someone else yesterday. I was deceived. I've been deceived this whole time. Hoche, please come back. I'm begging you. You're the only one who can help me." Xia Yin screamed herself hoarse, but she couldn't call Hoche back. He walked away, heartless and decisive. Not long after, Hoche's assistant, Yimo, arrived with the police. Yimo said to the police, "This lady has been following our CEO, Hua, and even staking out his house. It's terrifying. CEO Hua has a kind heart and feels she must be in some kind of trouble. Please make sure to help her resolve it properly. Otherwise, if she comes to disturb CEO Hua again or injure someone, the consequences would be unimaginable." Hearing Yimo's words, Xia Yin couldn't believe it. Yimo used to be so polite to her, but now he had become so cold. No matter how she screamed, Yimo did not change his story. In the end, Xia Yin was taken away by the police in despair. Yimo entered the villa and waited for a while before seeing Hoche come downstairs in his pajamas. Hoche was holding his phone, his hair still dripping water onto his cheeks. He walked into the living room and casually asked, "Is it handled?" "The police have already taken her away." As expected, the next second Hoche said, "I told you before not to let her get near me. Now, she's tracked me to my house and is staking it out. How did you handle this?" Yimo bowed his head. "I'm sorry, CEO Hua. I have already made new arrangements. It won't happen again." Hoche gave a few more instructions. Yimo hesitated and asked, "Young master, we've learned that Miss Xia. I don't need to be informed of anything about her." Hoche interrupted, already heading upstairs. Yimo closed his mouth and turned to leave. In fact, upon careful reflection, the young master had treated Miss Xia fairly. People don't wait in one place forever for someone else. The state Miss Xia had reached today was all her own doing. She couldn't blame anyone. Hoche went back up to his bedroom and sent Meng Shichu a WeChat message. "I'm all cleaned up." The next second, a video call popped up. He answered, and Meng Shichu's face immediately appeared on screen. Having just showered, Meng Shichu's long hair was loose and half dry, and she had a black sheet mask on her face. Hoche had seen black masks before, so he wasn't particularly surprised. However, he said, "You need to blow dry your hair." Meng Shichu sat up on the bed, leaning against the headboard. "I'm too lazy to blow dry it. The roots are already dry. I won't catch a cold." Hoche frowned. "Why are you so rough with yourself sometimes?" Meng Shichu was even puzzled. "Is this considered rough?" Hoche nodded. "Sleeping with damp hair is uncomfortable." Meng Shichu smiled. "Then I'll blow dry it after my mask is done." Hoche was speechless. "By the time your mask is done, your hair will probably be dry on its own." "Exactly. My hair will be dry on its own after my mask is done. So why should I bother blow drying it?" Seeing the smile in Meng Shichu's eyes, Hoche finally realized he had been led into a trap. Seeing he didn't want to talk, Meng Shichu took the initiative to ask, "Is the matter with your ex resolved?" Hoche nodded. "The police took her away. If she has any problems, the police will help her handle them." He was quite happy that she asked. He hadn't planned on hiding it anyway. They chatted on video for a while. Seeing that Meng Shichu still hadn't asked about what happened at the Hua family home today, Hoche couldn't help but bring up the topic himself. "Why didn't you ask if I got criticized at the Hua family home?" Meng Shichu said, "Big brother called me." She already knew everything, including the story of her mother meeting the Hua family's grandparents. After a 2-second silence, Meng Shichu added, "I called my mom to confirm. It's true. It was like a closed loop of cause and effect." Back then, when Meng Ling was hesitating about whether to have the child, her main concern was that the child's father was an ex she would never go back to. It was Elder Hua's words that enlightened her. Whether the child's arrival would bring her happiness and pressure was all that mattered. Everything else was unimportant. And Meng Ling had businesses and abilities. A child wouldn't be a burden to her. She liked children anyway. So what did it matter if the child's father was an ex or a current partner? Besides, she had never said she had to get married in this lifetime. For Meng Ling, marriage was a pleasant surprise, not a necessity. Only then did Meng Ling decide to have a child. Hoche said, "My grandparents saved my wife. It's too much of a coincidence." Meng Shichu nodded. "Right. I've owed you since I was born." She was originally scheduled to return to the capital the next day, but due to work arrangements, by the time Meng Shichu got back, it was already Friday. She landed at 3, and at 3:40, she was back at Linshan Design, where she had another hour-long meeting. Near the end of the workday, Hoche called Meng Shichu. "Are you coming back today?" With a pen in hand, Meng Shichu annotated a document while replying to Hoche, "I'm already in the capital." Hoche was startled on the other end of the line. "When did you arrive? Why didn't you tell me before you boarded? Where are you now?" Meng Shichu, "I booked the first flight back as soon as my work was done. I landed during work hours, so I didn't notify you." The other end of the line went silent. Meng Shichu finished marking up a document and, hearing no sound, glanced at her phone screen to see the call was still connected. She called out, "Hoche, I'm here." Hoche responded, his tone a bit stiff. Meng Shichu was very perceptive and sensed that Hoche seemed displeased. She asked, "Are you angry?" Hoche didn't answer. Meng Shichu spoke again. "I figured you have work too, and I have an assistant. Not troubling you should be fine." There was a moment of silence from the other side before he asked, "You think it's a trouble?" Meng Shichu said, "If you came to pick me up, it would take at least 2 hours of your time and affect your work." After she finished, Hoche hung up the phone. Meng Shichu picked up her phone, glanced at the disconnected call, and narrowed her eyes. She pulled up Hoche's WeChat and sent a message. "Don't wait for me for dinner. I have a business engagement." Seeing the typing indicator at the top of the screen, Meng Shichu put her phone down and continued to work through her accumulated tasks. After several days of work, Meng Shichu worked overtime until 6:30 before leaving the Lynch and Design office. Her assistant, Jiang Wan, drove her to the hotel for her business dinner. The dinner lasted until 8 o'clock, after which the host invited them to a KTV next door to sing and discuss the details of the project requirements. A group of 5 entered the private room, and soon, several young men and women came in. Meng Shichu had attended such dinners before. It was a common phenomenon in the industry, and she was unfazed. Besides her, there was another woman in the group, a successful female boss in her 40s who knew how to have a good time. The female boss said to Meng Shichu, "CEO Meng, which one do you like? You pick first." "Whatever," Meng Shichu said coolly. Hearing this, another CEO pointed to 2 young, fair-skinned men. "You two, take good care of CEO Meng." The 2 men received their orders and walked towards Meng Shichu. When they were a step away, Meng Shichu looked up and gestured behind her with her eyes. The 2 young men understood, circled around behind the sofa, and began to massage her shoulders. Seeing this, the female boss beckoned the remaining 2 young men to her side and said to Meng Shichu, "Don't worry, CEO Meng. The young masters here are all clean." Meng Shichu's marriage to the Hoche family's crazy young master was just a temporary arrangement without feelings. Such marriages were commonplace in wealthy circles, with both parties playing their own games after marriage. Many business deals were negotiated this way. But unexpectedly, Meng Shichu just smiled calmly and replied, "CEO He, enjoy yourself." The group drank, laughed, and chatted, and the conversation gradually shifted to business. It was a work engagement, after all, so of course they had to talk about work. The young men and women who had come to serve could be taken away by the bosses who chose them later. But for now, it was just the normal routine of serving tea and pouring drinks. After a while, Meng Shichu turned her head and waved her hand at the 2 men behind her. They immediately stepped back and stood there, awaiting her summons. At the same time, in another private room, Hoche was holding a microphone, singing. Duan Xiao, returning from the restroom, snatched the microphone from Hoche and asked, "Are you and Meng Shichu play your own games?" Hoche was already in a bad mood, and Duan Xiao's words made him instantly displeased. "What nonsense are you spouting? Huh, you're not." Duan Xiao looked shocked. "I was just coming over and saw Meng Shichu in that room over there, with 2 tender-looking young men serving her." Hearing this, Hoche froze as if he'd been struck by lightning, the expression on his face instantly crumbling. Duan Xiao's face changed drastically. Did I say the wrong thing? Although Hoche had introduced them before, it was a marriage of convenience without feelings. He had heard that their parents hadn't even met yet, and there was no sign of a business collaboration between the Pei and Hoche families. He had assumed their marriage was just a facade, not a real partnership. But seeing Hoche's expression, Duan Xiao suddenly felt he had made a huge mistake. "No, don't be like this. It's like that when you're discussing projects. I probably saw wrong." The door had been open when someone was delivering drinks, so he glanced inside. Although the possibility of him being mistaken was small, causing a rift between Hoche and Meng Shichu seemed like a bad idea. "Which room?" As he spoke, Hoche picked up a wine bottle from the table. Seeing this, Duan Xiao quickly grabbed him. "Hoche, what are you doing? Calm down. I definitely saw wrong. Miss Meng doesn't seem like the type to play around in places like this." "Don't." Hoche broke free from Duan Xiao's grip, picked up a wine glass with his other hand, and said, "I'm going over to have a drink with her." Although he said that, his tone and expression were not good. "Hoche, maybe you shouldn't go." Duan Xiao tried to placate Hoche. In his current state, he was likely to cause a scene. "I'm not going to hit anyone." Hoche forced a smile. "Want to come? It's not appropriate. They're talking business." "Fine, don't go. I'll go by myself." Hoche felt a suffocating anger that had been building since the afternoon. He had been with Meng Shichu for so long, sharing a bed, holding her, kissing her, and making love to her. Meng Shichu usually cared for him and was good to him as much as possible. But there was still an invisible distance between them. He didn't know why, but it just made him feel incredibly uncomfortable. That feeling was like Meng Shichu was trying very hard to have a good life with him, but no matter how hard she tried, there was still a sense of unfamiliarity and distance. Hoche walked out with a wine bottle and glass. Fearing he would cause trouble, Duan Xiao followed him. Inside the private room, Meng Shichu was discussing project details with the female boss when a knock suddenly sounded on the door. The door was pushed open, and Hoche walked in from outside. "Good evening, bosses." Hoche held a wine bottle in one hand and a glass in the other. His first glance fell on Meng Shichu, who was sitting close to the female boss. There were 3 men and 2 women in the room. The men each had 1 or 2 girls serving them. The female boss next to Meng Shichu also had 2 young men sitting beside her. Only Meng Shichu had 2 men standing behind her, and at a certain distance. The pent-up emotion in Hoche's heart instantly dissipated by more than half. Duan Xiao, who had followed him in, was also a little surprised. "Sorry to disturb you. I came to toast you all." Hoche smiled and walked in, coming to Meng Shichu's side. "I'll leave after 1 drink. I won't disturb your business talk." Duan Xiao wished he could crawl into a hole. This was definitely his fault. "Young Master Hua, are you here to back up CEO Meng?" The female boss couldn't help but tease. "Definitely. It seems CEO Meng and young Master Hua have a good relationship. Don't worry, CEO Hua. We haven't corrupted CEO Meng. We're just having a normal business discussion. CEO Meng hasn't even had a drink." The others chimed in. Hoche poured wine into his glass. "Everyone, don't misunderstand. I just came to see my wife and ask when she'll be done so we can go home together." They raised their glasses. Being toasted by young Master Hua and young Master Duan was something they could brag about for days. Meng Shichu stared at Hoche expectantly. Meeting her gaze, Hoche rubbed his nose. "How much longer will you be?" Faced with Hoche's question, Meng Shichu just stared at him, saying nothing. She knew better than anyone why Hoche was here. Moreover, Hoche had been typing for a long time in response to her afternoon WeChat message, but had never replied. Though she didn't know why, she knew Hoche was angry. Strangely angry. Seeing her prolonged silence, Hoche awkwardly forced a smile. "I'm in room 312. Call me when you're done." Then, Hoche and Duan Xiao turned to leave. The atmosphere was strange. "Wait!" Meng Shichu's voice suddenly rang out. As Hoche turned back, he saw Meng Shichu stand up. "Everyone, I'm a bit tired from my business trip, so I'll be taking my leave. There are still many details to this project. We could discuss them slowly later." "All right, it's getting late anyway. CEO Meng, you go first. We'll talk again." Before walking out, Meng Shichu took her bag and glanced back at the 2 young men who had been massaging her shoulders. They immediately understood and followed her out. Outside the private room, Duan Xiao said hello to Meng Shichu and left first. Meng Shichu took a check from her bag, signed it, and gave one to each of the 2 young men. "Thank you, CEO Meng." The 2 took them, thanked her, and left happily. "Let's go," Meng Shichu said to Hoche. The 2 walked out of the KTV in silence. At the main entrance, Meng Shichu stopped and asked Hoche, "Did you drive?" "I did." Hoche nodded. Meng Shichu glanced at the wine bottle and glass he was still holding. "How are you going to drive back after drinking?" Hoche looked away, his ears turning red. "Didn't you say you hadn't been drinking?" Meng Shichu, "It's not safe to drive when you're tired. Every business trip was exhausting. I'll call a designated driver then." Just as Hoche was about to make the call, he saw a familiar car pull up to the curb. Jiangwen got out of the car. "Miss, young master is here too." Jiangwen was thinking she probably wouldn't have to drive, but then she heard Meng Shichu say to Hoche, "Get in." Jiangwen had been with Meng Shichu for 3 years and knew very well that the young Miss's mood was a bit off. The young master was also holding a wine bottle and glass. Could it be that he was fooling around in the KTV and got caught by the miss? The ride was silent. The wine bottle and glass in Hoche's hands became a hot potato. Holding them felt wrong, and putting them down also seemed wrong. Beside him, Meng Shichu was constantly tapping on her phone. Hoche leaned over for a look and saw that she was replying to emails. She was really so busy. The car arrived at Haidang Villa. Jiangwen drove off, and Meng Shichu walked inside. Back in the living room, Hoche quickly put down the bottle and glass. By the time he went upstairs, Meng Shichu was already in the shower. Hoche ran a hand through his hair, feeling even more agitated. In his view, This was the silent treatment. But the thing was, he was the one who started today's incident. For no good reason, he had caused this conflict. Not long after, Meng Shichu came out of the shower. She was drying her wet hair with a towel. Hoche walked over and handed her a hairdryer. Meng Shichu reached for it, but Hoche said, "I'll dry it for you. Go take a shower. Let's talk after." As she spoke, Meng Shichu had already taken the hairdryer from his hand. Hoche hesitated, not going to the bathroom immediately, but instead coming to her side. About what happened in the private room. "Go take a shower." Meng Shichu looked at him, her expression exceptionally calm. "Wash off the smell of smoke and alcohol. It's still early, plenty of time to talk things through." "All right." He knew that she was often calm and detached, but when something was wrong, her calmness was unsettling. Because people who erupt from a state of calm are the most terrifying. Hoche showered quickly. When he came out, Meng Shichu had already dried her hair and was sitting on the bed, still busy with her phone. Hoche walked over and slowly sat on the bed. "Shichu." He had just started to speak when he was interrupted. "Hoche, are you angry with me?" Meng Shichu put down her phone. The screen, which hadn't timed out, still showed an email she was in the middle of replying to. "It's my fault." Hoche was about to explain, but Meng Shichu stopped him again. "Don't be so quick to take the blame. I still don't understand why you suddenly got angry. Let's make that clear before we explore whose fault it is." Hoche's jaw tensed. Looking back now, he realized the thing he'd been angry about was so trivial. But why'd he felt so angry at the time? So much so that now he didn't even know how to express it, because at this moment, he already felt he had made a mountain out of a molehill. Seeing he had no intention of speaking, Meng Shichu said, "Perhaps it was my fault for not telling you my travel plans before I got on the plane. I will change that in the future, but I feel your anger wasn't just about me not telling you in advance. It was when I said I didn't want to trouble you that you hung up the phone. I don't understand what there was to be angry about in that." After a pause, Meng Shichu added, "I've dated people before. Isn't being undramatic and not causing trouble something that makes everyone happy?" "That's different." Hoche finally spoke up. "The people you dated before were no good. Only those kinds of people think that not being dramatic and not causing trouble is the best kind of partner. We're in a marriage, and we're trying to build a relationship." Meng Shichu frowned. "So, to build a relationship, we have to go out of our way to trouble each other?" Hoche froze, shaking his head. "No, it's not what you think." Meng Shichu was even more confused. She watched as Hoche reached out and took her hand. "Shichu, we are husband and wife. I am very seriously trying to build a relationship with you. A relationship is something that requires mutual need, where there are no boundaries between us. What you call not wanting to trouble me is pushing me away. That invisible distance makes me feel like you don't need me. You do very well on a daily basis, and you care for me enough. But I always feel like you're just completing a task. The necessary distance and detachment haven't improved at all. I'm trying very hard to build a relationship with you, but in reality, you don't need me. I have this indescribable sense of powerlessness." Listening to Hoche's words, Meng Shichu also fell into deep thought. After a moment of silence, Meng Shichu said, "I thought that not causing you trouble was also a way of maintaining this relationship." "It's not." Hoche shook his head, but in the next second he sighed. "Suddenly, I don't think it's your problem. I was just being a bit dramatic." Meng Shichu said, "I'll be more mindful in the future." That issue was resolved. Next, she asked Hoche again, "Then what about you coming into the private room? Did you think I was fooling around? That I was putting a green hat on you? You probably won't believe me if I say no, but mainly I was holding my anger from before, so..." The rest of his words were left unsaid, but Meng Shichu understood. She smiled and said, "Hoche, remember this. If I wanted to fool around, I wouldn't give you a chance to find out, and I wouldn't have waited until now." Hoche's expression changed abruptly. He flipped over, straddling her waist, and leaned down, his voice low. "You're not allowed. I won't allow you to play those games. If you want to play, come back and play with me. I'll play however you want." That night, Hoche was wild, completely different from before. He said he was apologizing. Meng Shichu was speechless. Is this how you apologize? Was he satisfying his own crazy kinks, or was he apologizing? He had to have some idea in his own mind. Hoche nibbled on her ear and said, "Isn't wifey enjoying it? Enough is enough." Meng Shichu pushed at him. She had always believed in moderation. This was a bit too crazy. Or perhaps she was a bit too conservative. But Hoche didn't stop. "What are you afraid of? It's Saturday tomorrow. We don't have to work." The night was deep. The room was filled with sensuality. The two of them played for a long, long time, spark flying. Meng Shichu's internal clock rang as punctually as ever. She got up, got out of bed, but before she could take a step, she was pulled back into an embrace. Sleep a little longer. Meng Shichu turned her head to look at Hoche, whose eyes were still closed, and said, time to exercise. One day without exercise won't kill you. Hoche mumbled. I'll join you later. Meng Shichu didn't respond. Hoche added, you have to learn to enjoy life. Don't be so rigid. Meng Shichu asked, when I'm in my 30s or 40s with a bucket waist and sagging skin, will you still say that? Hoche scoffed. If you end up like that, I'll probably be fat and out of shape too. We just won't criticize each other. How about that? Before Meng Shichu could reply, Hoche said again, we slept so little last night. It's not a crime to sleep in a little more. Fine. Meng Shichu reluctantly pulled the blanket over herself. This kind of undisciplined life was something she had only experienced after marrying Hoche. It didn't feel good, but it didn't feel particularly bad either. Suddenly, Meng Shichu turned to face Hoche. On Sunday, the elders from the Pei and Ho families are having a meal together. Can you arrange that on your end? Was this decided last minute? Hoche's eyes flew open. This was very sudden. Meng Shichu said, I planned it with Big Brother on the phone before boarding yesterday. I was going to tell you tonight, but I didn't get to it. Last night, after a shower, they started rehashing their conflict, and then things got physical and went on for so long that she completely forgot about it. Hoche thought for a moment with narrowed eyes. I'll tell him after dinner at the old estate today. It should be fine. He had been married to Meng Shichu for over a month, but their families hadn't had a formal meeting yet. Rumors were indeed flying in their circle that his and Meng Shichu's marriage was a joke. This needed to be settled, and the alliance between their two families should be put on the table for mutual benefit. Hoche's reaction made the corners of Meng Shichu's lips curve up. She then asked, are we getting up now? Up. With that, he sat up in one motion. After washing up, they went downstairs in their workout clothes. After a run and a shower, they had breakfast. By the time they were ready, it was nearly 10 o'clock. Hoche, dressed in a shirt and slacks, asked Meng Shichu, how do I look? You're just going back to your own home. Can't you wear whatever you want? Hoche explained, the last time doesn't count. This is the first time I'm bringing you home. I definitely have to be more formal. Being too casual would make it seem like I don't value you. His words made Meng Shichu raise an eyebrow. I've never heard that kind of reasoning before, but the Ho family had many rules, so Meng Shichu just nodded. Very formal, like you're about to give a speech at a conference. That description is absolutely perfect. In contrast, Meng Shichu was dressed more simply. A white t-shirt, wide-leg pants, and mid-heels. A look that was simple and sharp, yet exuded a certain elegant competence. Jade touched his chin and commented, you look like a kind and approachable white-collar sister from next door. That's the first time I've heard that evaluation. No one had ever said she looked like a girl next door. The two left, with Hoche driving. At Meng Shichu's request, Hoche drove towards the Xiangshan Meiyuan Villa complex where Meng Shichu lived. He figured she probably wanted to check on her little animals. Just like last time, they were greeted by the crow, Raiden, at the door, followed by the joyful flapping of cats and dogs, and the ants and insects in the tank by the entrance. In the backyard, two falcons were strolling around as if they owned the place. Seeing Meng Shichu arrive, they excitedly spread their wings and approached, letting her scratch their armpits. After feeding them all, Meng Shichu went upstairs and quickly came back down with a red box in her hand. Hoche asked curiously, what's this? Meng Shichu didn't answer, but handed him the box. He took it and opened it. Inside lay a string of beads wrapped in several circles, a peculiar fragrance wafting out. Sandalwood, Hoche guessed. The scent was very special. He hadn't reached the age of collecting wood yet, but he had smelled something similar at his grandfather's place long ago, though it seemed different. Meng Shichu said, 108 old-growth sandalwood beads. Hoche looked closer and asked, a Buddhist artifact? It should be a presentable gift for your grandmother, right? Are you really willing to part with it? Some things might not have a high intrinsic value, but were incredibly rare and hard to come by. Meng Shichu explained, I'm not yet at an age where I can handle such a sacred object. Besides, sandalwood has a calming effect on the nerves and helps with sleep. Since Grandma has spent many years in temples, she should be able to use it. Hearing her words, Hoche's heart felt as if it were being filled with something soft and dense. The last time they went to the Ho family home, she had also prepared a very thoughtful gift. In comparison, the gifts he had brought to the Pei family seemed much less heartfelt. Thinking about his inexplicable tantrum yesterday, he felt even more guilty. Seeing him staring at her without speaking, Meng Shichu frowned and asked, what's with that expression? I've wronged you. Hoche said, hugging Meng Shichu. A very confused Meng Shichu had a big question mark in her head. Doesn't the internet say that women are the emotionally volatile ones? Why was Hoche so emotionally volatile too? It was truly baffling. Hoche let go of Meng's Shichu and placed the box in her hands. Shichu, I need to learn to be better to you in the future. How strange. Meng Shichu couldn't figure it out and didn't try. She walked past Hoche and headed outside. Hoche followed her. I'm not joking. I'm serious. Okay, I believe you. Hoche felt her reply was just a casual appeasement. He quickened his pace to catch up, took her wrist, and walked out side by side with her. I'm starting to like you a little. Really, no joke. Okay. Meng Shichu nodded again. She was very calm, without a hint of emotional fluctuation, not even a blush on her face. Hoche said, You don't believe me. I believe you. Ooh, okay. He didn't feel she believed him very much. Forget it. This kind of thing needed to be proven with time. He would let Meng Shichu know that he wasn't joking. This time in the car, Hoche thought they were heading to the Hoche family estate, but Meng Shichu directed him to a jewelry store. You want to buy jewelry? Meng Shichu nodded, confirming that she did. After parking the car, Hoche led Meng Shichu into the jewelry store. Whatever you like, your husband will buy it for you. Meng Shichu browsed around and finally stopped at the bracelet section. She chose a single-loop bracelet of large black textured beads, strung with a translucent jade piccio. Hoche looked at the bracelet on his own wrist with a puzzled expression. Weren't you the one buying? I am buying. Meng Shichu took out her card and handed it to the clerk. Charge it. Hoche was dazed for a moment, then asked curiously, Why are you buying it for me? Didn't I say I'd celebrate the day you started to like me? Meng Shichu smiled, saying it so frankly. Que froze again. He had indeed said that not long ago, but he had forgotten, because Meng Shichu had seemed so casual and nonchalant at the time, yet she had remembered it all along and had acted on it with such strong execution. It was shocking. It made his heart feel as if it were filled with freshly harvested spring honey, fresh and sweet. It was moving. Hoche wanted to buy something from Meng Shichu in return. He was stopped by Meng Shichu. Wait until the day I find that I like you too. Then you can buy me something. Then you'd better hurry up, Hoche said in a low voice. Meng Shichu calmly soothed him. Be patient. They arrived at the Hoche family's old estate at 11:30. This time, the estate was relatively quiet. The second and third branches of the family had not come. Hoche's father, mother, and Hocheng were home, along with the old matriarch. Meng Shichu greeted them generously. The old lady took Meng Shichu's hand and asked kindly, Little Chu, were you frightened the last time you came? Grandma apologizes to you. I've already punished that foul-mouthed second aunt of yours. She won't dare to be rude to you again. Don't worry. Grandma, you're being too serious. It's fine. Meng Shichu presented the gift she had brought with both hands. A small gift? I hope Grandma will like it. You silly girl, what's with the gift? We were destined to become a family. The old lady beamed with joy. Hoche chimed in from the side. Grandma, open it and see. This is something Shichu treasured from a Buddhist monastery, obtained through fate. The old lady had become exceptionally faithful in these things over the years. Hearing this, she immediately opened the box. A rich, mellow fragrance wafted out, carrying a comforting weight. This was good stuff. Upon closer inspection, she saw that the beads even had a monastery's insignia. It was indeed a rare and precious treasure that one couldn't just find. The old lady said excitedly, Little Chu, this is too valuable. Meng Shichu smiled and said, That's why it must be given to someone important. Her words were beautifully spoken. The old lady's face broke into a wide smile. She pulled Meng Shichu to sit beside her and started chatting enthusiastically. As they chatted, the old lady suddenly said, Little Chu, you wouldn't believe it, but a few years ago I ran into your mother. She was as beautiful as she was back then. Grandma still remembers what my mom looked like back then. Of course, the old lady said proudly. Your mother loves romance and believes in everything. She and her husband were copying scriptures in a temple together, praying together. They were so in love. It was Meng Ling who had recognized her, and they had chatted for a bit. Meng Ling was very grateful for the words she and her husband had said to her 20 years ago, which had made her decide to keep the child without hesitation. Now, with both a son and a daughter, she had achieved both a beautiful love and a fulfilling marriage. She had also said that her daughter was exceptionally outstanding, and that her daughter's existence made her even happier. The old lady had been so gratified at the time. She never would have thought that that girl would eventually become her granddaughter-in-law. It was all fate. At lunch, the old lady also had Meng Shichu sit next to her. Now that she was older, Her desire for fame and fortune was not as strong as when she was younger. Instead, she valued family harmony and smoothness. She also believed more strongly that as long as the family was harmonious, everything would naturally prosper. After lunch, Hoche finally got to the main point. To keep Meng Shichu out of it, Hoche said, "My schedule is a bit tight for arranging this, so Grandma, please don't punish me." Hoche's parents exchanged a look, a tacit understanding between them. They could both see that Meng Shichu was the busier one. This meeting was likely arranged by her. However, seeing their son being so protective of his wife made them feel even more at ease. This time, their foolish son had truly learned his lesson. Meng Shichu had already booked a place for the meeting. Hoche, however, suddenly looked troubled. As for second uncle's side, "Don't worry about them." The old lady spoke up, adding, "Just invite the third son's family. Don't mind the second branch." The second aunt had been punished by the old lady to go to the mountain to copy scriptures for 3 months to cultivate her character and prevent her from causing trouble at home again. With the old lady's decision, Hoche was relieved. He was truly angry about what happened last time. His second uncle and aunt had been too much. The old lady, despite her age, was more open-minded. Hoche called his third uncle, who came over shortly after. He had even brought a gift specifically from Meng Shichu. "I prepared this last time, but didn't get a chance to give it to you. Making up for it now. Little Chu, please don't mind." "Third uncle, you're too kind." The old lady was getting old and needed to rest at a fixed time in the afternoon. Since Hoche and Meng Shichu were staying for dinner, Hoche's mother suggested a game of mahjong. Because there was an extra person, Hoche couldn't play and just watch from the side. After a few rounds, Meng Shichu was losing quite badly. Hoche's mother said, "Little Chu, you don't have to keep letting us win." His third uncle also said, "That's right, it's just family fun. Show us your real skills." Hoche put his hand on his forehead, leaned close to Meng Shichu, and whispered, "Is this really your skill level?" Meng Shichu gave an embarrassed smile. "I just know the basics." She wasn't an expert, and she had never played cards at a business dinner. Whether it was mahjong or poker, she only had a rudimentary understanding. It's fine." Hoche comforted her, adding, "Your losses are on me." They played all afternoon, and Meng Shichu kept losing. When they finished, Hoche paid his parents and third uncle one by one via QR code. They showed him no mercy. Dinner was sumptuous. Hoche had a few drinks with his father and third uncle. That night, the two of them ended up staying at the old estate. The last time she was at the old estate was a brief visit, and Meng Shichu hadn't been in Hoche's room. Meng Shichu discovered that the style of Hoche's room in the old estate was much brighter, unlike his villa, which was monochromatic and had a typically cold style. Hoche explained, "Don't get mad when I tell you this, okay?" He had decorated his villa back then because of something Xia Yin had said. She had told him, "Hoche, can you be more mature? Just because I save your life doesn't mean you have to devote yourself to me. I don't like immature guys like you." His thinking was simple at the time. He thought he was acting too childish, so he decided to reinvent himself. He wore dark clothes, styled his hair in a mature way, and even moved out, decorating his new house in a simple, dark color scheme to showcase his maturity. Thinking back now, he was no different from an idiot. After hearing this, Meng Shichu just found it quite interesting. "Are you laughing at me?" Hoche pulled Meng Shichu to sit on the sofa. Meng Shichu shook her head, simply saying, "Changing for someone should be a very cool thing." This answer was unexpected. It could be said that Meng Shichu could interpret many absurd behaviors in a very special way. Her thinking always jumped out of the conventional, making it unpredictable. After his surprise, Hoche asked, "So, have you ever changed for anyone?" "No." Meng Shichu shook her head without hesitation. Seeing Hoche staring at her without speaking, Meng Shichu added, "Growing up, no one ever asked me to change anything. Everyone told me to just be myself, that I was the best as I am." Hoche said, "I've really never met anyone like you. That's not a criticism. You're just very special." Meng Shichu's lips curved slightly. "From birth, I've been draped in silks and jade. I've never lacked for food, clothing, necessities, or love. Therefore, small favors and minor efforts can't move me." Because of this, she didn't know what it felt like to love someone, nor how to change herself for someone. It seemed like a complex and contradictory proposition. The answer might take a longer time to find. Hoche felt a small pang of disappointment, but he was still magnanimous. "It's fine. Just be yourself." Meng Shichu didn't love him, but she hadn't loved anyone else either, and yet she had married him. He was the one who had won. Meng Shichu woke up early. Hoche's mother was watering flowers, while his father and Hocheng were exercising in the gym out back. Meng Shichu walked over to her mother-in-law. "Good morning, Mom." "Little Chu, why are you up so early? You should sleep in more." Hoche's mother, holding a watering can, came over to Meng Shichu. "Did you not sleep well in an unfamiliar environment? I'm used to waking up early." Meng Shichu reached for the watering can to help her mother-in-law. "Mom, let me. I can do it. You rest." Hoche's mother gently refused. These were very valuable flowers she was raising. A little too much water, or not enough, and they would die on you instantly. Meng Shichu recognized these flowers and knew they were valuable, so she didn't insist. "My mom loves to grow flowers and plants too, but she's often away, so it's mostly my stepfather who takes care of them." Hearing this, Hoche's mother was taken aback. "Your stepfather must be a very gentle man." Her own husband, on the other hand, preferred to play chess and fish, thinking her gardening was a waste of time and utterly boring. He would never help her fertilize or water, but she didn't mind. After so many years of a business marriage, being able to remain respectful to each other was rare enough. At least she and her husband rarely fought. It was peaceful and stable. Pretty good. Half an hour later, Hoche came downstairs, wearing loose loungewear, his hair falling down, looking like a well-behaved boy. He came to Meng Shichu's side. "When did you get up?" "I have no memory of it." He only knew that when he opened his eyes, the spot beside him was already cold. "A while ago. I saw you were sleeping soundly, so I didn't wake you. Makes me seem less obedient than you." Hoche stood in front of Meng Shichu, scratching the back of his head, looking as cute as a button. Meng Shichu chuckled. Hoche's mother walked over, poked Hoche's head, and feigned a scolding. "You were never as well-behaved as Little Chu to begin with. Little Chu even helped me water the flowers. She recognizes all my flowers and knows their habits. Not like you, who's just like your father, completely uninterested in anything I do." Hoche's mother had only meant to gently prod Hoche, as her son had been so foolish before. But as soon as the words left her mouth, the expression on Hoche's face changed slightly. His father and Hocheng, who had just come from the backyard, also stopped dead in their tracks. Hocheng immediately turned to look at his father and saw that his sweaty face wore an indescribably ugly expression. Over here, Hoche also had a bad feeling. Just as he and Meng Shichu were about to speak, his mother laughed and spoke first. "What are you all standing around for? Hurry up and wash up for breakfast." With that, she took her watering can and went outside. The atmosphere was still a bit awkward. Hoche's father, with a cold face, walked not upstairs, but towards his wife. Hocheng followed behind, giving Hoche a look. He was afraid his father would feel he had lost face because of his mother's words, leading to a fight. In the blink of an eye, the father had reached the mother. He reached for the watering can in her hand, his tone stiff, as if to save face. "Let me help you water. Give it back. You don't know how. These are delicate flowers. What if you kill them?" "If I kill them, I'll compensate you, won't I? Can't I afford it?" The father forcibly took the watering can and held it high, so his wife couldn't reach it. His mother got angry. "You're being ridiculous. Little Chu is here today. I don't want to fight with you." With that, she turned to walk back. The father grabbed her hand. "You don't usually fight with me either. Let go." The mother was displeased but still suppressed her temper. The father didn't let go. Instead, his tone softened. "Where are you going? If you don't tell me how much to water, what if I really kill them?" Just as the mother was about to say she didn't need his help, Hoche suddenly spoke up. "Mom, just teach Dad. That way, when Shichu and I take you on a trip, Dad can help you take care of these precious flowers." A smile had unknowingly appeared on his mother's face. His father turned to Hoche and said, "Besides sleeping in, you also talk too much." "Oomph." Hoche pulled Meng Shichu towards the dining room, deliberately saying in a not-so-quiet voice, "How strange. My dad is actually blushing. It's the first time I've seen it." Meng Shichu whispered, "You should say less." Sure enough, from behind came his father's roar. "You little brat, are you asking for a beating?" Hoche didn't dare to speak loudly anymore, but whispered to Meng Shichu, "My dad is embarrassed." Behind them, the mother tugged at her husband, whose old face was uncharacteristically red, and said irritably, "Why are you yelling at the child so early in the morning? He's asking for it." "You be quiet," the mother whispered. "The father, you just spoil him." The mother, "Little Che has changed for the better since marrying Shichu. We should encourage him more." The father, "That's because Shichu can handle him. Try it with someone else, and Hoche would be raising hell." The mother said, "He and Shichu are a fated match. People always change when they meet their destined other half. Are you jealous? Is our marriage of several decades not fated? You old rascal." A while later, Hocheng, having showered and changed into loungewear, came down for the meal. Seeing that his parents hadn't arrived, he asked Hoche, "Have Mom and Dad already eaten?" Hoche, eating his food, said with a smile, "They've gone off to be romantic." His father had never been so clingy with his mother before, let alone watered flowers. Hoche leaned closer to Meng Shichu. "You're my family's lucky star." Even his parents' stagnant marriage seemed to have changed. What else could she be but a lucky star? After breakfast, Hoche and Meng Shichu went for a walk nearby, ending up at the man-made pond in the furthest part of the area. When this wealthy neighborhood was first built, it had 2 large artificial ponds. The property management would release fish fry every year, and residents could come to fish. Every 2 years, the ponds would be dredged, and the grown fish would be distributed among the residents. Because these fish grew large thanks to the feeding by the resident anglers. Hoche's father would spend an afternoon here every weekend. My dad used to love having me fish with him. I didn't have the patience and got scolded by him many times. Later, after I moved out, I was less willing to come back. Back then, if there was a family dinner, I'd run off as soon as it was over, Hoche said, a wave of guilt washing over him. Even though he had been so disobedient when he was arrested in his past life, his family had still tried everything to save him. He was the one who hadn't lived up to expectations. No wonder that after he became a wandering spirit, he saw that the circle's evaluation of him had gone from crazy young master to useless young master. Meng Shichu held Hoche's hand, comforting him. There's still time for everything. She didn't know how much of a scoundrel the old Hoche had been. She only knew that from her first encounter with him, he had been a decent person. Pure, kind, sunny, and helpful. You're right. Hoche nodded, his mood quickly improving. Everything will get better. Meng Shichu smiled and looked into the distance, suddenly pointing at the willow tree ahead. Isn't that third uncle? It really is. Let's go say hi. The whole family all lived in this area, with only the eldest branch living at the old estate. They often saw each other. The two walked over, and Hoche patted his third uncle on the shoulder from behind. The third uncle turned and saw it was him. Hey, are you two here to fish? Just walking around, showing Shichu the environment. The third uncle stood up and offered his chair. Little Chu, you sit. I'm fine, third uncle. Sit for a while. The third uncle was all smiles. You two shouldn't go any further. Hoche was confused. Why? Your second uncle is fishing at the other pond. He's like a firecracker, ignites at the slightest touch. You two shouldn't go provoke him. Seeing Meng Shichu studying the bait, the third uncle asked if she knew how to fish. Meng Shichu shook her head. I don't. Her foster father, Li, liked to fish. She had accompanied him a few times when she was around 10, but found it boring. After that, her foster father Li stopped asking her to go fishing with him. The activity was indeed tedious. She preferred to throw some punches and sweat it out at the boxing gym. Come, I'll teach you. I'll give you a rod. Meng Shichu was slightly interested and, along with Hoche, started fiddling with it. An hour passed in the blink of an eye. Meng Shichu and Hoche had used a lot of bait, but hadn't caught a single small fish. The third uncle, on the other hand, was laughing loudly every few minutes, reeling in fish. His fish basket already held 4 large fish, one of which was a silver carp he had caught by accident. Not only was the third uncle ecstatic, but the other fishermen also gathered around. How'd you catch a silver carp with that hook? Your luck is too good. I fished for a week straight before and didn't catch a single one. I'm so jealous. Give me half your luck. A group of empty-handed anglers was full of envy. The third uncle was also proud and even called his older brother, boasting loudly. Big brother, I'm coming to your place for lunch. I caught a big fish. We're having fish for lunch. You have no idea. Ever since Little Che and Little Chu came over, I haven't stopped catching fish, even though Little Che's couple hasn't caught a single one. Over there, Hoche looked at his motionless rod and said to Meng Shichu, should we move to a new spot? The fish here were all biting the third uncle's hook. They couldn't catch anything. Fishing relies on luck. Maybe we just don't have the luck for it, Meng Shichu said. My foster fatherly also often comes back empty-handed. Her stepfather and her foster fatherly were in a group chat that she was also in. Every time her foster fatherly made a big deal about going fishing, a few hours later her stepfather would ask in the group how many he caught, and then her foster fatherly would tell her stepfather to shut up and not ask. Anglers go fishing not just to pass the time, but more importantly, to feed the fish. I'm done fishing. Hoche put down his fishing rod, took Meng Shichu's hand, and was about to leave. He didn't forget to say to the smug third uncle, we're leaving. Take the fish with you. Okay. Hoche didn't stand on ceremony. He poured the fish from the basket into a bucket and carried it away. At noon, the third uncle walked into the old estate carrying his fishing gear. Meng Shichu pursed her lips in a smile and nudged Hoche with her elbow. Hoche took the hint and asked, "Did third uncle catch any more big fish?" The third uncle looked over, his lips pressed together, and asked back, "Weren't the 4 from before enough for you to eat?" Hoche pretended to understand. Oh. So after Shichu and I left, third uncle didn't catch a single one. The third uncle was frustrated. "Little Chu, you need to control Hoche. What kind of behavior is it to mock his third uncle?" This was something Meng Shichu had taught him. His wife was brilliant. As it turned out, during the meal, his father asked the same question. "Third son, after my son and daughter-in-law left, did you catch any more big fish?" The third uncle. After lunch, the whole family gathered in the living room for tea. Soon, it was time for the old matriarch's rest. Before going upstairs, the old lady took Meng Shichu's hand and gave her a glass-type jade bracelet she had worn for many years. Before Meng Shichu could say anything, the old lady said, "This was given to me by my mother-in-law when I got married. It's a family heirloom, but it's not given to whoever manages the household, but to whoever gets married first. You and little Che got married first, so naturally it should be given to you." The old lady paused, then added, "I'm old and have long since stopped managing the household. I won't go to the family meeting tonight, so you all won't feel constrained." The old lady's voice was gentle, her expression kind. "Little Chu, you and little Che must be good to each other." She then turned to Hoche and said, "A person must learn to be content and cherish the one before them. You understand?" "I know, Grandma." Hoche nodded repeatedly and stood beside Meng Shichu. The old lady put the bracelet on Meng Shichu's wrist, then placed Meng Shichu's hand in Hoche's, before nodding and letting the housekeeper help her to rest. After the old lady left, Hoche's parents also discussed matters related to the wedding formalities with Meng Shichu. Although they were going to discuss it with the Pei family that evening, they still needed to go over it with Meng Shichu first. According to Hoche's previous promise, we will give 5 times the amount, which translates to 8% of the company's shares, 2 companies, 1 entertainment city, 1 hotel. Hoche's father finished and asked Meng Shichu, "These are all to be registered under your name. Do you see anything else that needs to be added, like real estate, cars, jewelry, antiques, or other requests? We can discuss anything." Hoche's mother also added, "Shichu, don't worry. It's not like we'll go back on our word just because you and little Che are registered. In this day and age, the divorce rate for marriages is too high. Meng Shichu has a brave mother and lacks for nothing herself. If they couldn't even meet the basic conditions, she might dump Hoche in a minute. Given Hoche's past glorious track record, what girl would dare to take him on so easily?" Meng Shichu smiled slightly. "I don't have any major objections. When I agreed to marry Hoche at the wedding, I was also thinking that a collaboration between our 2 families would be beneficial for our family's development and help us reach a new level." What a child with a sense of the big picture. With Meng Shichu's words, her parents-in-law were much more at ease. At a little past 3, Meng Shichu and Hoche left early for the Pei family home. Pei Jinhui led the 2 of them inside, not forgetting to mention, "Dad has been choosing his clothes for an hour." Pei Guangyin attached great importance to this meeting with his in-laws. After all, it concerned his daughter's marriage, even if it was already settled. Hearing that Meng Shichu and Hoche had arrived, Pei Guangyin came down from upstairs, holding 3 ties in his hand. "Little Chu, which tie do you think I should wear?" Pei Guangyin sought Meng Shichu's opinion. He hadn't dressed himself up so formally in many years and felt inexplicably excited, afraid he would mess things up. Meng Shichu chose a light-colored tie. "This one is handsome. All right, I'll listen to little Chu." As Pei Guangyin went upstairs, he called Meng Shichu to join him, but said to Hoche, "Son-in-law, you have some tea with Jinhui first." "Okay, Dad." Pei Guangyin took Meng Shichu to the study. "Little Chu, regarding the amount of the betrothal gift from the Hua family, do you have any thoughts or opinions?" Fearing Meng Shichu might overthink it, Pei Guangyin quickly explained, "Of course, what the Hua family gives is all for you. Dad is just afraid they won't give enough. If I ask for more, it might make you unhappy. They can't think that just because you and Hoche are married, they can cut back. That would be very unprincipled. Your mother definitely wouldn't agree either." Speaking of Meng Shichu's mother, the expression on Pei Guangyin's face softened considerably. Meng Shichu didn't hide anything. The Hua family doesn't intend to give less. It's 5 times what Hoche publicly promised the He family, plus a long-term collaboration between our 2 families. As long as they don't give less. If they dare to shortchange you, I will definitely flip out. Pei Guangyin breathed a sigh of relief. worried that his daughter would be wronged. Then he took out a file. Dad has prepared a dowry for you. Dad, didn't you say the shares from before were the dowry? That was something you were supposed to have anyway. I've also purchased a manor, cars, and 2 yachts for you. Your brother knows, and he has no objections. These things were already agreed upon for your marriage to He. They weren't given only because the marriage didn't happen. Don't refuse. Not giving her a chance to refuse, Pei Guanyin added, I know you've accepted everything Ning Chuan gave you. If you don't take what your father gives you, people will talk. Meng Shichu tugged at the corner of her lips, indicating she would accept these things. At this point, she could completely lie flat and enjoy a life free of worries. At 6:30 that evening, Pei Guanyin arrived at the hotel with Pei Jinhui and met with the Hoche family. Pei Guanyin shook hands with Hoche's father. Pei Jinhui shook hands with Hocheng, and with Hoche and Meng Shichu acting as the bridge between them. The group exchanged pleasantries and entered the private room. Because everything had been cleared with Meng Shichu beforehand, the meeting went very smoothly, to everyone's delight. By the end, Father Pei and Father Hoa had shaken hands several more times. As they parted, Father Pei said to Hoche, treat my daughter well. If you bully her, I won't forgive you. Father Hoa said from the side, don't worry, in-law. If this boy dares to bully Chu, I won't forgive him either. Our whole family likes little Chu very much. We won't bully her. The third Hoa uncle added with a chuckle. Of course, this excluded his second brother and sister-in-law, who were growing more and more unreasonable with age, which was a real hardship for their 2 children, who had been reprimanded along with them by the old matriarch. The 2 families parted ways joyfully. That night, the business world learned that the Pei and Hoa families had met, and that both sides were very happy when they parted. Many well-connected small groups were discussing whether the 2 families had already reached a cooperation agreement. And among them, the most anxious was the Duan family. Of the 4 major families, only the Duan family was now left standing alone. Late that night, Father Duan went to the villa where Duan Xiao lived and asked bluntly, have the Hua and Pei families reached a cooperation agreement? Isn't that normal? Duan Xiao said, Hoche and Meng Shichu are married, and they seem to get along well. A collaboration between their families is a sure thing. Why aren't you worried at all? Father Duan was so angry he poked Duan Xiao's head. Now that the He family has fallen, and the Pei and Hua families are banding together for warmth, aren't they deliberately trying to squeeze out our Duan family? What's the use of being anxious? Duan Xiao looked helpless. Who would have thought that the marriage alliance between the Pei and He families would bring the He family to its knees? Who would have thought that Hoche would suddenly propose to Meng Shichu? And who could have imagined that Meng Shichu would agree? Weren't all these things just a coincidence? Seeing Duan Xiao's unconcerned look, Father Duan was silent for a moment before saying, I'll go find a marriage for you. When you find someone suitable, just settle down. Duan Xiao was shocked. Does it have to be so sudden? Is this sudden? Father Duan scolded. You and Hoche hang out together all day. Now that Hoche has suddenly married Meng Shichu, you're the one being squeezed out, and you're still so clueless. Duan Xiao. The next day, the news of the alliance between the Pei and Hua families became a hot topic in the business world, causing quite a stir. Meng Shichu arrived at the company. She had been on a business trip for much of last week and hadn't had a chance to work over the weekend. Today was destined to be a busy one. Around noon, her assistant Jiang brought her a courier in a file envelope. It was a local delivery with the words for Meng Shichu's personal attention written on it. Who sent it? It doesn't say. Meng Shichu didn't take it, saying coolly, open it. Jiang opened the envelope and took out a stack of paper. After looking at it, the corner of his mouth twitched. Miss, it's a novel. Meng Shichu? ? Jiang handed it to Meng Shichu. The main characters are the young master and Miss Xia. Meng Shichu's brow furrowed. Why was this Miss Xia so persistent? Then she looked at it, and the title was Rebirth. While rumors of a union between the Hua and Pei families were circulating in Kyoto's business circles, Meng Shichu had become hooked on a serialized novel. The author seemed to be deliberately keeping her in suspense, sending 5 or 6 pages a day via same-day courier. Meng Shichu hadn't followed a novel in years, and it felt like being back in her school days, chasing serialized stories. In the blink of an eye, it was Friday. Hoche had driven her to the company today. She got out of the car and waved at him. Hoche craned his neck and said to her, I'll come get you for lunch. Okay. She went upstairs and entered her office. Before long, Jiang came in with work documents. Meng Shichu smiled and asked, no novel today? Jiang shook her head. I didn't receive an email. I'll check the front desk again later. Meng Shichu didn't mind and began to focus on her work. The backlog of tasks had long been cleared, so the past 2 days at the office had been particularly relaxing for her. She spent most of her time reviewing revenue reports and project plans from the various companies and industries under her name. At noon, Hoche arrived early, carrying some snacks and fruit. When he entered Meng Shichu's office, he saw 2 stacks of documents on her desk and a face on her computer screen. She was in a video conference. "Have a seat. I'll be done soon," Meng Shichu said to Hoche. The voice in the video call paused. She said calmly, "Continue." Bored, Hoche wandered around Meng Shichu's office. Because it was a temporary office designed by Lin Shun, it felt a bit sparse, with many furnishings not yet set up. Hoche thought for a moment and sent a message to his assistant. "Pick out 2 indoor money tree plants and have them sent to the Lin Shun design office." He glanced around again and sent another message. "Set up a fish tank, buy 2 arowanas, and send them over too." Turning to see that Meng Shichu's desk had nothing but a computer and documents, he continued to text. "Select a money toad ornament for the desk." In just 10 minutes, Hoche had sent 8 messages. When Yemo saw them, he replied with 2 words, "Received." Meng Shichu was still not finished. Hoche ambled over to the sofa and sat down. Bored, he was about to pick up his phone to browse the news when he suddenly saw a stack of papers on the coffee table, covered in dense text. It didn't look like a project file or a contract. Placed here, it surely wasn't anything confidential. Curious, Hoche picked it up, and his gaze instantly locked on 2 words. Hoche's name. His first thought was that Meng Shichu had someone investigate him. This was nothing. It might have been from when they first got married. Hoche didn't mind. But in the next second, he spotted another name. Xia Yin. Seeing these 2 names together, Hoche's expression lost its calm. Only then did he begin to read carefully. It wasn't a collection of information, but a record of everyday life events. All of them were related to Xia Yin. But the more he read, the darker Hoche's face became. The events described within were all real, and they were all things that had happened in his past life. Without realizing it, Hoche's hand had clenched so tightly that the paper was becoming misshapen. By the time he got to the end, Hoche's entire demeanor had turned exceptionally grim. At some point, Meng Shichu had come to his side and reached out to take the papers from his hand. Turning his head, Hoche met Meng Shichu's calm expression. "Where did these come from?" Hoche asked, his voice uncharacteristically stern. Meng Shichu said, "They were probably sent by your ex." "Xia Yin." Hoche shot up, anger radiating from him, his fingers tightening as if strangling someone's neck. Tossing the papers onto the coffee table, Meng Shichu took Hoche's wrist. "Let's go eat. Did you make a reservation?" "I did," he answered, his voice a bit stiff, devoid of the cheerfulness he'd had upon arriving. While waiting for the elevator, Meng Shichu glanced at Hoche's expression. His smile was gone, his eyes cold, his anger unconcealed. The elevator doors opened. Meng Shichu stepped inside, but couldn't pull Hoche along. She turned back to find him staring at her with suspicion. It was the end of the workday, a peak time for the elevators. Meng Shichu simply stepped back out. People from the studio were coming out, greeting Meng Shichu and Hoche as they saw them. "CEO Meng." "Young Master Hua," someone asked curiously. "The elevator just went down? Why didn't you 2 go?" Because outsiders were present, Hoche tried his best to make his expression less severe. It was Meng Shichu who said, "We forgot something in the office. You all go ahead." After speaking, she pulled Hoche back to her office. As soon as they were inside, Meng Shichu let go of his hand and closed the door. Meng Shichu stood before Hoche, her arms crossed, her face calm as she asked, "What's all this fuss about?" Hoche's lips were pressed together, his gaze fixed on Meng Shichu, his voice seemingly stuck in his throat, unable to come out. "Speak." Meng Shichu's voice grew firmer. Hoche's lips moved, but still no sound emerged. He had loved someone before and knew very well that some questions were red lines. Once questioned, rifts would form, and women were far more sensitive about this than men. But those things, he couldn't help but mind them. The atmosphere grew stagnant. Meng Shichu turned and walked toward her desk, saying to Hoche behind her as she went, "If you don't want to talk, I won't force you. You don't look like you're in the mood to eat. I'll have someone send you back to your company." In a flash, Meng Shichu was at her desk, her phone already dialing her bodyguard, Jiang Wu. "Come here and take the young master-in-law back to his company. Have Jiang bring me lunch to the office." After making the arrangements, Meng Shichu placed her phone on the desk and sat down in her chair, preparing to continue reading her documents. A shadow suddenly fell over her as Hoche rushed forward. He braced one hand on the edge of the desk, his upper body leaning down slightly. "I want to know, Did you know I was coming and deliberately put those papers on the coffee table for me to see? Such a question was one of suspicion, doubt, and testing. He would have much preferred Meng Shichu to confront him directly, to just ask. Just like when Xia Yin had popped up in front of Meng Shichu before, and she had decisively called him to handle it. Simple, direct, without concealment. All tests and suspicions would shake a stable relationship. He didn't want to ask, but he was bothered by it. Not asking meant being plagued by suspicion and the feeling of being tested. Asking would make Meng Shichu look bad. He was so conflicted that he struggled, feeling like nothing he did was right. In the end, he decided to ask her directly because he knew Meng Shichu was already angry. Since she was already unhappy, he had no other choice. Meng Shichu looked up. Just for this, if you deliberately put them there for me to see, it proves you're testing me. I think you might as well have just asked me. Hoche stated his thoughts frankly. Meng Shichu gave a faint smile, then averted her gaze and began working on her computer. About half a minute later, she turned the computer toward Hoche. The same-day delivery letters started arriving on Monday. It's been serialized for 4 days. It didn't come today. Having followed novels before, she knew very well that this serialized story hadn't reached its conclusion. In it, Hoche's pursuit of Xia Yin was almost demonic. She fled, he chased, and he stopped at nothing. It was quite similar to the writing style of the novel she first started reading. Extremely angsty. My first love tortured me 1,000 times, but I still love her like I'm possessed. Then they go through all sorts of drama. You let go, I let go, we meet again, we interact again, and finally realize they love each other. In short, after great angst, they live happily ever after, even if the other person killed their parents. It was wild, but this story wasn't over yet. It had reached the point where Hoche caused the death of Xia Yin's first love, Su Zizhou, and Xia Yin, filled with hatred, left the entertainment industry to plot her revenge against Hoche. She was actually looking forward to the rest of the plot, wondering how Xia Yin planned to get her revenge on Hoche. But today's installment hadn't arrived, leaving her hanging. She never expected that a stack of A4 paper, combined with a casual action of her own, would make Hoche think so much. The computer was playing back the security footage. Meng Shichu pointed to the time in the top right corner of the video. On Monday, after I finished reading, I just casually tossed it on the coffee table. The next 3 days were the same. I was just reading it for fun. Do you really think I'd put something so mindless on my desk to get in the way? Or treasure it in a drawer for safekeeping? Hoche could also clearly see that in the playback, as Meng Shichu was walking out, she had casually tossed the papers onto the coffee table, and they had scattered. After she left, Jiangwen came in, tidied up a bit, and left them on the coffee table. Hoche's cheeks burned, feeling as though he had judged a noble person with his own petty heart. It was Meng Shichu who asked him, "Do you need to see the playback from Tuesday to Thursday?" "No." Hoche shook his head repeatedly, waving his hand. "No need." Seeing Meng Shichu turn the computer screen back, he quickly spoke up. "I'm sorry. I was overthinking things, assuming you were deliberately testing me. I've said it before, I don't have much interest in the past between you and Xia Yin. If I were to test you with something like this, it would make me seem classless." Meng Shichu's voice was light, betraying no emotion. "You overthought it probably because you're sharp-minded and prone to deep thought. In that, I am no match for you." Hoche was about to speak when he heard Meng Shichu say, "It's good that it's cleared up now." She remained perfectly calm, as if the strongest wind could not stir the slightest ripple on the lake's surface. The calmer she was, the more intimidating it was. Hoche spoke up, "Let's go eat." "I'm not going." Meng Shichu refused directly. "This matter isn't a big deal, but it has indeed soured my mood. You can have lunch by yourself." "But—" Knock, knock, knock. A knock on the door interrupted what Hoche wanted to say. The brothers Jiangwen and Jiangwu entered. Jiangwen was holding Meng Shichu's lunch. The atmosphere in the room was a bit stagnant. Jiangwen walked toward the coffee table, while Jiangwu walked toward them. Jiangwen placed the food on the coffee table, casually tidied the scattered papers, and put them in a corner of the table. Over there, Jiangwu stood before Hoche. "Young master-in-law, I'll see you out." Following that, Jiangwen called out to Meng Shichu, "Eldest miss, you can eat now." "Okay." Meng Shichu put down the documents in her hand and stood up, only to have her wrist grabbed by Hoche in the next second. "I'm sorry." Hoche apologized directly. "It's my fault. I'll change in the future." Meng Shichu said, "You can let go now. Let's go out to eat. I've already booked a table." "I'm not going." Meng Shichu still refused without hesitation. "Shichu, okay." Meng Shichu cut him off. "This small matter won't affect me. nor will it make me think any less of you as a person. But right now, I really don't have the interest to go out to eat. You should calm down too, can you? Her voice was the same as always, her expression unchanged, as calm as still water, her emotions unervingly stable. Which Jade didn't let go. Meng Shichu spoke again. I am also at fault. If I'd been a bit more mindful and put those papers away or thrown them out, you wouldn't have seen them, and you wouldn't have had these doubts. Unfortunately, no one is perfect and can attend to every single detail. She was just an ordinary person, incapable of considering every little thing. It's fine now. Hoche suddenly released his hand. I'll head back first then. I'll come pick you up after work this afternoon. Okay. Seeing her agree, Hoche's tense expression relaxed slightly. I'll go then. You should eat your lunch. With that, he turned to walk out. When he saw Jiang Wu take a step to follow, Hoche said, No need to see me out. I drove. Jiang Wu said, Then I will see the young master-in-law to the door. Hoche didn't stop him this time. When the door was pulled open, Meng Shichu was already sitting on the sofa by the coffee table. She said to Jiang Wen, You go eat too. Okay. Jiang Wen left. After Meng Shichu finished her meal and cleaned up a bit, she went back to work. Just before 1 o'clock, she went into the lounge for a nap. At 2 o'clock, at the Xia Corporation, Xia Yunchin's brother, Xia Yunhao, rushed in. Assistant Liao, what an honor. I wonder if CEO Hua has any new instructions. Things had not been easy for the Xia family recently. Partners were withdrawing investments, and contracts weren't being renewed. Many friends who had been close to them had grown distant. They were struggling at every turn. The reason, naturally, was related to Xia Yin and Hoche. Xia Yin had run away from the engagement party, and Hoche had turned around and cut off all ties with her. No matter how Xia Yin tried to find him afterward, Hoche was determined to ignore her. Hoche had severed his relationship with the Xia family, so those who had cooperated with the Xia family out of respect for Hoche naturally wouldn't continue to give them face. Now, that Hoche had sent someone over, could it be that things were taking a turn for the better? Xia Yunhao smiled fawningly and expectantly at Assistant Liao, awaiting instructions. Liao Tianzong glanced at him coldly and said, Our CEO, Hua, and Miss Xia Yin have already settled things. If Miss Xia continues to cause trouble, CEO Hua wouldn't mind taking measures to make the Xia Corporation disappear to avoid it being such an eyesore. Hearing such words out of the blue, Xia Yunhao's face changed drastically. We've already locked Xia Yin up. We'll have her marry CEO Yuan soon. How could she still? I've delivered the message. There won't be a next time. After saying this, Liao Tianzong left directly. Xia Yunhao's face was deathly pale. As soon as Assistant Liao left, he called home. What trouble has Xia Yin caused now? What is she trying to do? CEO Hua has given a final ultimatum. If she keeps making a fuss, the Xia family's company will go bankrupt. Meng Shichu rested for 40 minutes, then got up to continue working. Before long, her phone rang. It was Ning Chuan. Meng Shichu answered, Dad, did you and Hoche have a fight? Ning Chuan got straight to the point. Meng Shichu was silent for a few seconds, then said lightly, Not really a fight. It's the adjustment period. It's normal. On the other end, Ning Chuan said, Don't get stuck on it. If he makes you angry, just get angry right back at him. Meng Shichu laughed. I'm not stuck on it, and he didn't make me angry. It's a normal process of getting to know each other, just a bit different from our usual interactions. Hearing this, Ning Chuan couldn't help but laugh out loud. Daughter, you're being overly rational. Meng Shichu said, This is good. She wouldn't be petty, nor would she sulk for days over a little unpleasantness. Ning Chuan said, In a marriage, you'll be happier if you learn to be a little muddle-headed sometimes. Meng Shichu nodded. Okay, Dad, I'll try. You know all the principles, so I won't say more. If Hoche bullies you, tell Dad. I'll come have a chat with him. After chatting with Ning Chuan for a while, Meng Shichu hung up and found a WeChat message from Hoche. Hoche, I ordered you a milk tea, 70% sugar. It's almost there. Hoche, remember to tell me if it's sweet. It was usually 50% or 30% sugar. This was the first time it was 70%. Meng Shichu replied, It's sweet. Hoche, you've already had it? Meng Shichu, Not yet. Hoche, then how do you know it's sweet? Meng Shichu hesitated before typing on the screen. Anything from my husband is sweet. At the top of the chat box, the typing indicator stayed on, but no message came through. 2 minutes later, it was still typing. Meng Shichu asked, Are you writing a 1,000-word essay? Hoche, No. I'm just suddenly very happy. A knock sounded at the door. Jiang Wen brought in the milk tea sent by Hoche's assistant. Meng Shichu called out to him, From now on, you don't need to report every little detail of my life back. Jiang Wen froze for a moment, then lowered his head. I'm sorry, eldest miss. It won't happen again. Go on with your work. After Jiangwen left, Meng Shichu inserted the straw, took a sip, and sent a picture of the milk tea to Hoche. She also sent a message. It is indeed very sweet. Sweet from my mouth all the way to my stomach. Hoche sent a bouncing and jumping sticker pack, followed by a message. I've booked a restaurant for tonight. Shall we eat out? Meng Shichu, okay. That afternoon, Hoche came over early, holding a bouquet of vibrant flowers. As Meng Shichu took them, he seized the opportunity to take her hand, and in the next moment, a red bracelet was slipped onto her wrist. Hoche said, an apology gift. After a pause, he added, I've already had someone deliver a final ultimatum. Meng Shichu nodded. If she continues to harass us, I'll handle this matter. Okay. Hoche had chosen a newly opened restaurant. I hear the food here is good. The owner is from Yuzhou, so the flavors should be more to your hometown's taste. That's very thoughtful of you. The dishes were served one after another. Meng Shichu took a bite, and her face immediately lit up with pleasure. It was indeed the unique flavor of Yuzhou. She wasn't a picky eater, but when she encountered a flavor she liked, she would eat a bit more. Leaving the restaurant, Hoche asked her as if showing off a treasure. I didn't choose wrong, did I? The choice was excellent. Thank you. Hoche was stunned. Why say thank you? Meng Shichu said, you are very accommodating of me. It's worth thanking. Hoche shook his head. What I mean is, we are a legally married couple. There's no need for thank you between husband and wife. Is that so? Meng Shichu tilted her head slightly. The polite phrases she was used to were not applicable here. She used to say this when dating people in the past. When she and Xingyi had confirmed their relationship and planned to get engaged, she often said it too. In her view, it was the most basic politeness and good manners, and no one had ever told her it was wrong. Now, Hoche was saying there was no need for thanks between husband and wife. Constantly saying thank you is the most direct manifestation of distance, Hoche said, taking Meng Shichu's hand. He added, a couple talks about life, feelings, ideals, and support, but they don't talk about manners and politeness. Because before getting married, these things should be understood at a basic level. Meng Shichu fell silent, thinking it over carefully. It seemed she had indeed never heard her mother and stepfather say things like thank you to each other. When Ning Chuan found a rare flower from Meng Ling would hug his neck and say, my husband is the best. When Meng Ling casually drew a portrait for Ning Chuan would kiss the back of Meng Ling's hand and say, my wife is so amazing, it's a perfect likeness. Affirmative praise was the mode of interaction between Meng Ling and Ning Chuan. Even if one had a problem at work, and the other helped solve it, they would praise the other for being brilliant and clever, not say thank you to their partner. Meng Shichu had seen many of these details, but had never had the conditions to trigger a deeper understanding. Now that the condition had been triggered, it was like a sudden epiphany. She said to Hoche in all seriousness, I'll remember that. I won't say things like that to you again. Meng Shichu's reaction surprised Hoche. After a moment's thought, he realized that every interaction with Meng Shichu was effective. She wasn't stubborn, her emotions were stable, and she wasn't the type to shift responsibility. She was so excellent that he didn't know how to describe her. He even suddenly realized that with a woman like Meng Shichu, any decent man would live a happy and joyful life with her, simply because she herself was so good. As they reached the car, Hoche suddenly suggested, shall we go shopping? We can. Meng Shichu withdrew the hand she had placed on the door handle. They walked hand in hand down the street, melting into the hustle and bustle of the city. Suddenly, Hoche stopped and looked at the shoe store beside them, then glanced down at Meng Shichu's high heels. Come on, let's buy you a pair of shoes. Hoche pulled Meng Shichu into the shoe store. After some searching, Hoche held up a pair of casual sneakers and asked for Meng Shichu's opinion. How about these? Meng Shichu nodded and said to the clerk, could I try these in a size 37, please? Thank you. The clerk immediately brought them as requested. Meng Shichu put both shoes on her feet. They were indeed much more comfortable than high heels. I'll go pay. Hoche also had the clerk pack up the high heels Meng Shichu had taken off. Meng Shichu's phone rang. It was Pei Guangyan. As soon as she answered, Pei Guangyan's voice came through the phone. Shichu, are you coming home this weekend? Meng Shichu said, okay, then come back tomorrow morning. Thinking she had no other plans for tomorrow, Meng Shichu agreed. But as soon as she hung up, Meng Ling called. Meng Ling had been on a long business trip. Several times when she had called, her assistant had answered. Meng Ling was extremely busy. Mom, Meng Shichu said, is your business trip over? Meng Ling replied, it is. My flight back is tomorrow. I'm flying directly to Kyoto. It's about time I met my son-in-law. Hearing this, Meng Shichu asked, what about Dad? Meng Ling laughed, and then Meng Shichu heard Ning Chuan's voice. It was Meng Ling who said, he came to see me a few days ago. Of course, we'll come over together tomorrow. Okay, I'll tell Hoche. Then she heard Meng Ling's reminder, Shichu, don't tell Pei Guangnian I'm coming to Kyoto. I can't be bothered to deal with him. Neither of them was wrong about what happened back then. She was just someone who hated trouble, which was why she had decisively broken up with him. It was only after she left that she found out she was pregnant. Last year, Pei Guangnian had accidentally seen Meng Shichu and then found her, crying his eyes out. She really didn't want to face that. Meng Shichu made a mental note. Hoche, having paid, came over with the shoebox and, almost out of habit, took Meng Shichu's wrist. I'm done. Let's go. Meng Shichu's phone call hadn't ended yet. As they were walking out of the shoe store, Meng Ling asked her over the phone, are you and Hoche out? Yes, we're strolling after dinner. He bought me a pair of shoes. Meng Ling asked with a laugh, were you wearing high heels before? Meng Shichu answered yes, and Meng Ling said with a gratified smile, this son-in-law is quite thoughtful. Meng Shichu glanced sideways at Hoche, then said into the phone, he's very good. Hearing her comment on him, it must be someone close. Hoche asked curiously, who are you praising me to? Meng Shichu, my mom. Hoche froze for a moment. Remembering this was the mother-in-law he had yet to meet. He said, isn't she my mom too? Meng Ling heard this on the other end and laughed happily. She said to Meng Shichu, sweetheart, let Hoche talk to me for a bit. At the same time, Hoche was already reaching for the phone. Let me say hello to Mom. Meng Shichu handed the phone to Hoche. He had just put it to his ear when he generously called out, good evening, Mom. Have you had dinner yet? Meng Shichu didn't hear what was said on the other end, but in the next second, Hoche changed his tune. Good morning, Mom. Have you had breakfast yet? It was Meng Ling explaining that she was abroad, where it was just dawn. The corners of Meng Shichu's mouth lifted slightly, and a breeze seemed to pass through her heart, gentle with a hint of warmth. As they walked, she suddenly heard Hoche say to Meng Ling, it's not really a conflict, just some normal little frictions in life. It's a normal process of Shichu and I getting to know each other. Mom, don't worry, Shichu and I haven't grown apart. Of course, it was mainly my fault. I will correct it. After chatting with Meng Ling for a while, they probably got to the part about coming to Kyoto tomorrow, and Hoche's face lit up with joy. A warm welcome. What time is your flight tomorrow? Shichu and I will come pick you up. After another 2 minutes of chatting, the call ended. Hoche returned the phone to Meng Shichu. Dad wants to see Mom. They'll arrive in Kyoto just after 8 tomorrow morning. I told them you, and I will go pick them up. Meng Shichu smiled and nodded. Okay. Hoche added, Mom knows we had a little disagreement today. She's worried we're not getting along. Meng Shichu didn't hide it. It was Jiang Wen and Jiang Wu who reported to my dad, and my dad told my mom. It's fine. It was mostly my fault anyway. Hoche certainly knew it couldn't have been Meng Shichu who tattled. Then he heard Meng Shichu say, I've already told them not to report my personal matters back anymore. Jiang Wen and Jiang Wu knew her personality. She wouldn't keep disobedient people around, unless they did it without her knowing. The two brothers knew what to do. Having disagreements and arguments is a normal part of life, Hoche said, squeezing the back of Meng Shichu's hand. He added, I told you before my dad and mom have barely argued their whole lives. Their relationship is almost like family. It was only after that little stimulus last time we went back that my dad seemed to realize his relationship with my mom was too placid. Meng Shichu couldn't quite understand. She knew that arguments were beneficial for mutual understanding, but she didn't know how they could deepen a relationship. Had her mother and stepfather ever argued? The answer was yes. Her stepfather was the type of man who was a reformed prodigal, the type that made his partner very insecure. Before meeting Meng Ling, Ning Chuan was completely focused on his career, had great luck with women, and living amongst a bevy of beauties was his norm. He had planned to live like that forever. He had money, so he wasn't afraid of desolate old age, as plenty of people would want to serve him for money. But then he met Meng Ling, a strong woman in her career, and a gentle, romantic single mother in her personal life. Ning Chuan pursued Meng Ling for 3 years, completely cutting off all the other women in his life. He was also wonderful to Meng Shichu, always saying that when he got old, he would leave his inheritance to the mother and daughter. Meng Ling liked romance, and Ning Chuan provided endless surprises, attending to every little detail. When he angered Meng Ling, he would change. He would never make the same mistake twice. After 3 years of effort, Meng Ling's heart softened, and she married Ning Chuan. After that, every time he upset Meng Ling, Ning Chuan would run away from home. He'd go out for a walk for half an hour or an hour and come back with Meng Ling's favorite flowers and snacks. Meng Shichu still remembered one time they had a huge fight. Meng Ling was pulling her to run away from home, but Ning Chuan stopped them, saying, "Why are you leaving? I'll leave." Then it was Ning Chuan who ran away from home. When he came back, he was fully equipped with flowers, jewelry, and food. He had also bought Meng Ling a small island and a huge block of gold engraved with success in exams. They always had occasional arguments, but they were always resolved quickly, and no one would ever bring up old scores. To this day, their relationship was as strong as ever. Just like these past few days, Meng Ling's business trip was too long, and Ning Chuan couldn't stand it, so he chased after her himself. Meng Shichu had only ever known that her mother and stepfather had a good relationship, but she had never pondered the details. Even when she was dating before, no one had mentioned things like this as Hoche did, so she naturally didn't realize anything was amiss. Thinking about it now, she seemed to be lacking a great deal. In the course of love, she hadn't even entered the front door. Therefore, after hearing Hoche's words, Meng Shichu stopped and turned to face him. Although Hoche was holding a shoebox in his other hand, Meng Shichu still reached out and took his free one. She looked up at him and said with a serious expression, "Hoche, I've dated before, but I've never really been moved, nor do I have any unforgettable experiences. I probably don't know the true face of love. In this aspect, I am no match for you. In our future together, please teach me." Pursing her lips, Meng Shichu continued, "I can feel that you are a very good man. I think falling in love with you must also be a very wonderful thing." With a slight smile, she concluded, "Hoche, I want to try to like and fall in love with you." Hoche's eyes widened in surprise, because he had always believed in one principle. When a person tries to like and fall in love with another, they are bound to see that person's good qualities. Or rather, at that point, their heart has already been moved. It was just a case of the heart being moved without self-awareness, a self-delusion of the rational mind. Therefore, he knew deep down that Meng Shichu had feelings of affection for him. She just hadn't realized it herself yet. "No rush. Take your time." Hoche withdrew his right hand and gently stroked Meng Shichu's hair. "I am prepared for you to like and fall in love with me. What I need to do is make sure you don't regret this decision." Before Meng Shichu could respond, Hoche pointed to the nearby mall. "Let's go look around inside." Without another word, he pulled her inside. Upon entering the mall, they were greeted by the dazzling sight of an arcade. Perhaps because it was vacation time, every game machine was occupied, and a cacophony of sounds filled the air, creating a lively atmosphere. "Have you ever played these?" Hoche asked Meng Shichu with great enthusiasm. Meng Shichu nodded. "Dad has taken me to play some of them." Since returning from Yuzhou, Meng Shichu referred to Ning Chuan as Dad, only occasionally calling him stepfather. Hoche had figured out, when Meng Shichu said, "Ba," she meant the one from the Pei family. When she said Baba, it was definitely Ning Chuan. Hearing that she had played them all, Hoche said, "I've played all of these too. It's been years. Let's play again together." Just then, a motorcycle racing machine became free. The players left, and Hoche pulled Meng Shichu over. It was a two-player competition version, with 2 seats. Hoche sat down and first taught Meng Shichu how to use it, then took out his phone to scan the QR code and paid for 30 minutes. "In Yuzhou, I heard Dad say you also race cars. Shall we compete?" Hoche proposed. "We can." Meng Shichu nodded. Then she asked, "What about a prize for winning and a penalty for losing?" "You decide." Meng Shichu thought for a moment, then shook her head. "I can't think of anything. If it were a friend, a prize or penalty would be easy to come up with. But the other person was her husband." Hoche grinned. "I've thought of one. Let's hear it." Meng Shichu was curious, but she saw Hoche lean his motorcycle seat over, get close to her, and whisper a few words in her ear. After hearing it, the corner of Meng Shichu's mouth twitched, her eyes lifted at the corners, and the tips of her ears unexpectedly turned red. Hoche reached up and rubbed his nose, his own cheeks flushed and burning as if on fire from embarrassment. Since it was a suggestion, he cleared his throat and asked Meng Shichu again, "How about it?" Meng Shichu pursed her lips, looking Hoche up and down. She suddenly felt a great deal of interest and nodded. "Okay, a bet is a bet." Hoche pressed the start button. The machine emitted the sound of a motorcycle revving its engine. A red and a white motorcycle flashed on the screen, and the countdown began. 3, 2, 1, start. Both of them locked their eyes on the screen, controlling their respective bikes as they sped through a canyon full of winding roads. A frantic chase. The screen showed perilous scenes, with falling rocks and clouds of dust constantly obstructing the path forward. Meng Shichu had played this type of game before and also had racing experience. Her motorcycle weaved through various obstacles, advancing at high speed. Hoche had also been a racer back in the day, and he was very familiar with these games, with rich experience, keeping pace with Meng Shichu's bike. As they controlled their bikes, the motorcycle-like seats they sat on swayed left and right, and the handlebars turned constantly. At some point, a crowd of young teenagers had gathered around them. Wow, the lady's moves are so cool. Her skills are insane. If that were me, I'd have died 3 times by now. This guy's skills are incredible too. I wish I had half his skills. Awesome. Cool. The round ended after 18 minutes, with Meng Shichu winning by a slight nose. Impressive, Hoche said, quite surprised. He had actually lost. Although he wouldn't dare compare his skills to a professional's, he had never lost when playing with his friends back in the day. You're impressive too, Meng Shichu said, then paused. How about best of 3? Are you sure? Hoche smiled. If I win, it won't be good for you. After all, if he won, Meng Shichu would have to wear the risque outfit. If Meng Shichu won, he would have to wear it. Meng Shichu's thought was that men cared about their pride. She worried he might feel uncomfortable losing to her in front of so many people, which was why she suggested a best of 3. Hoche didn't refuse, simply saying, bring your A game. Don't go easy on me. You too, Meng Shichu said likewise. Hoche nodded. Lose with conviction. Win with exhilaration. Let's begin. The second round started. The terrain was different in each round. The last one was a canyon. This one was a winding mountain road, with a cliff on one side and a deep abyss on the other. If you went off the road, you lost. It was even more thrilling and dangerous than the canyon. The watching teenagers were on the edge of their seats. Someone whispered to their companion. Are they a couple? Probably. This is a classic case of a competitive couple. Watch the race. Perhaps due to the terrain, this round ended in only 9 minutes. Meng Shichu, navigating a series of sharp turns, crashed into the mountainside on the 7th turn, flying off the road and into the abyss. She lost. Hoche also lost control on the 11th turn and flew off the road. He had only won by a margin of 8 seconds. Because he had been staring intently at the screen and the map was constantly changing due to the turns, Hoche felt a bit dizzy and disoriented now that it was over. The world was spinning. Or perhaps seeing the bike fly off the track had triggered a mild stress reaction. Cheers erupted from the crowd, all praising Hoche's skills. The turns on this map were extremely tricky. Meng Shichu was already very impressive, let alone Hoche. When Hoche looked at her, Meng Shichu gave him a thumbs up. You're amazing. I admit defeat. Hoche's face was a little pale, but he quickly recovered. One final round to decide it. Seeing that the time was running out, Hoche scanned the code again to add more time, adding another 20 minutes, thinking they would switch machines after this round. The scene for the third round changed again, this time to a city road, and a night scene at that. The city road seemed wide, but there were civilian vehicles requiring superb reflexes while moving at high speed. Hoche, who had just composed himself, had a mental breakdown less than 3 minutes into the final round. Because this type of road simulated accident scenes, it was a psychological blow to him. The result of a poor mindset was that in less than 5 minutes, his motorcycle crashed into an overturned car, and his defeat was announced. Meanwhile, Meng Shichu had been racing for over 10 minutes, reaching top speed, and showed no signs of stopping. It was Meng Shichu herself who stopped controlling the bike, ending the game voluntarily. Turning to look at Hoche, Meng Shichu frowned. What's wrong with you? Hoche's eyes were a little red, his face even paler than before, and his gaze was slightly unfocused. This state was clearly not right. It's nothing. Hoche didn't want to spoil Meng Shichu's fun, forcing a smile. I lost. You're better than me. They had only exchanged a few words when someone in the crowd grew impatient and interrupted. Are you guys done? If you're not playing, you can let us have a turn. We're waiting for the machine. Hoche turned to look at him, his already pale face turning cold, with displeasure written all over it. Meng Shichu also looked over. Both gazes were oppressive. The boy who had spoken was choked up for a moment, then said, You guys aren't even playing anymore. It's not right to hog it. Why don't you let us play? You got a lot of nerve, Hoche said, his tone cold and stiff. But you're not playing. Meng Shichu straightened up, cutting the boy off. Didn't you see the time isn't up yet? Has no one taught you first come, first served? How could you? The boy's face flushed red. How can you two adults talk to me like that? I'm still a student. You're going too far. Meng Shichu took out her phone. What school are you a student of? I'll ask your teacher if they only taught you moral blackmail. Hearing this, the boy panicked. Aren't you an adult? Why do you have to pick on a minor like me? From student to minor, he was quite clever, knowing how to gain the upper hand. But Meng Shichu wasn't falling for it. Should people just die once they grow up? Meng Shichu held her phone up to the boy as if taking a picture, tapped a few times on the screen, then sent a voice message. Help me see what school uniform this is. A student acting so arrogant outside of school, having mastered the art of moral blackmail. I'd like to go and pay my respects. The boy was speechless. Hoche was even more direct, taking out his phone, scanning the QR code on the machine, and paying for 5 hours. Looking at the time displayed on the screen, the boy's expression was as ugly as it could be. The other teenagers watching found it quite amusing. This couple was full of rebellious spirit. Hoche said, I'm going to sit here and chat today. Is there a problem? If the kid hadn't been so aggressive from the start, with that condescending and commanding tone, he would have just gotten up and left. The boy pouted, turned with a tense face, and walked away, his pace quickening until he was out of the mall's main entrance. Hoche scoffed. Beside him, Meng Shichu had already stood up, bent down to pick up the shoebox from the floor, and patted Hoche's shoulder. Let's go. Hoche stood up and said to the teenagers still there, It's on me. You guys play. Thanks, big brother. Thanks, big sister. You guys are a top-tier couple. Wishing you guys an annual income of $1 million. Hearing this, Meng Shichu just found it funny, but Hoche turned his head, pointed a finger, and said with a smile, Kid, don't repay kindness with ingratitude. Huh? The boy who had wished them $1 million income was stunned. Did he say something wrong? But seeing that Hoche wasn't scowling, he probably hadn't said anything wrong. Hoche waved his hand. Have fun, you guys. The teenagers were also surprised. This couple was actually quite easy to talk to. Meng Shichu could see that Hoche was out of sorts and suggested they go home. Let's play a little longer. Hoche refused. There's still so many different game machines. With that, he stopped in front of a claw machine. Hoche said to Meng Shichu, I'll grab you a doll. Okay. Seeing that he was interested, Meng Shichu didn't refuse, even though she didn't care for such things. The machine was fully automatic, no need for coins, just scan a code to buy attempts. Hoche scanned and paid, then began to operate it. 10 straight losses. I've never played this kind of thing before, Hoche explained awkwardly. He had thought he could get at least 1 in 10 tries. Meng Shichu took out her phone, scanned the code, and added 50 more attempts. Continue. If I don't even get 1 by the end, will it be really embarrassing? Meng Shichu said, just enjoy the process, regardless of the result. This comfort was very effective for Hoche. The unhappiness from the motorcycle game had mostly dissipated. Of course, a good mood couldn't change the outcome of total bust. There's something wrong with this machine, Hoche said fiercely through gritted teeth. Meng Shichu nodded. It has a probability setting. You just happen to be operating within the non-payout attempts. Though annoyed, Hoche didn't dwell on it. He asked Meng Shichu, why don't you try? No thanks. Why? You don't like it? Meng Shichu's lips curved. It's embarrassing not to get 1. Ooh, okay. Meng Shichu's smile was faint. It's enough that you're embarrassed. I won't be embarrassed too. Hoche was stunned for a moment, then burst out laughing. His mood inexplicably improved a great deal.